All right. We are back again from the Memorial Weekend break. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, and joining me is my co-host, Herb Lewis, the Big Bad Wolf. Oh, the controversial counselor as well, David Glover. Let me not forget that. Due to missing out on Monday's broadcast, open court discussion, we will have that platform tonight, June 3rd. Last Monday, we discussed toxic femininity from the lenses of the manosphere. Spear. I don't know why I can't say that shit. On Thursday, the title of this broadcast tonight will be Who Taught You Women How to Land a Man? Is it through his stomach? So, that concept kind of came up from the show where we talked about work romance and work wives and work husbands, people bringing in meals and stuff like that. And someone, made the comment that when you cook for someone, it's intimate. So that's how this kind of transpired. We truly understand that many women have many things to do throughout their daily routine, and sometimes a nice cooked meal may be pushed to the wayside. Now, is it that they can't cook or don't try to cook or just not putting the time in meal planning? Because we all know when you have a bunch of stuff on your plate, you have to have a schedule. You have to map things out. You have to unthaw some frozen food, and you just constantly going with planning. Well, something has to give if you plan to get through to his heart, which is his stomach. Somebody gonna have to start cooking. Somebody's gonna have to start cooking. I know y'all don't want to hear that. And I know some of you may say, well, damn, if he that hungry, make his own damn, cook for his own damn self. But somebody's going to have to start cooking. What are you going to do? Please stay locked in for the drawing for the month of May's top 10 contributor in the Counselor's Corner. And with time permitting, we may have that segment, Who Needs Counseling? Please like and share this video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So, yeah, man. Herb, man, what's going on? It seemed like, I was posting stuff related to this topic, and it was a lot of pushback, a lot of resistance, talking about reciprocation and stuff. And I'm basically saying these are some of the keys to a man heart, not only just cooking, some other things, but it seemed to be a lot of pushback on, well, they need to do this, they need to do that. Sometimes you should just listen to what we say. You don't have to agree with it, just listen instead of already having that wall up and putting up that resistance. But who am I to say? I'm just a counselor, the controversial counselor. Good evening, Marcia. Thanks for joining us. So, Herb, with this topic, man, talk to me about it. I know you always say, oh, you prefer to cook for yourself. You know how to cook. But some guys just don't have that skill set like that. I'm one of them. I don't have that skill set like that. And I prefer, I'll go out to eat. But as I keep saying, and I'm not trying to be cheap or anything, I just think the quality of some of these restaurants, the food isn't good. You're paying all this money, you're getting smaller portions, and shit, you're hungry 2 hours later. It's trash. I'd rather have a nice, wholesome meal. I mean, that's what I learned from my mother, my grandmother, those type of meals that get you full and you get that itis. I don't get no itis from no restaurant food. I don't get no itis. I get a craving or desire to eat more a couple hours later, and I don't mean to sound like Sherman Klump or anything. I'm just saying I like that wholesome cooked meal, but that's another topic, and I'm sure we'll tackle that tonight as well. Hey, Christine, thanks for joining us tonight in the Counselor's Corner. So, Herb, talk to me, brother.
The proverbial, and everybody always hear me mention this. I think I'm going to make this a brand standard of mine. Is what is in your toolkit? Now, as David said, he doesn't know how to cook like that. And some men do, some men don't. I happen to have spent a lot of time working in restaurants, so I learned some tips. I learned some things, and I was asked questions. What are you doing with this, or how are you doing with this? And also, I happen to work as a server for some years, so you also learn that aspect of culinary expertise, if you will. So it became incumbent upon me, especially when I went away to college. You know, fellas didn't always have the big meal plan, so you always got tired of eating. Like David said, that restaurant, or in our case that campus food. So I got real versed real quick with going in the centrally located quad area or quiet room or whatever. I can't remember what they used to call it at Bus State. They used to sit in the middle of the floor at Porter Hall. Every dorm area had one. And pots and pans, man. And got the banging of pots and pans. And ultimately, your boys would come to, yo, man, what you making? Can I have some? Yo, man, I'm tired of eating that food. And he was like, look, this is how it's going to go down. I have no problem cooking. But you got to bring something to the table, man, because I'm not gonna be feeding the floor, And sometimes money was tight. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to school to where I could go home and work on the weekend, so I could make a little bit of coin, just to tide myself over during the week, and especially because I was a night owl, and I didn't I didn't go to sleep until, and most of the people that I hung out with, we didn't go to sleep till probably noon, maybe one in the, I'm sorry, noon, about midnight, or some of us actually noon. But we didn't go to sleep till about midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. This is back when the old Super Nintendo came out. So we would be sitting in a room playing Donkey Kong Country or whatever other game we would play, and we was like, "Yo, man, we gotta get to sleep now. We got class in the morning." And that was the one thing you learned being a freshman was don't select the early class. You're never gonna make it on time, especially when the winter hits. You want that extra half an hour sleep. So we got wise to the game and didn't start scheduling classes until about 10. But let me get back to the cooking portion. So you get your little seasons. You start out with the basics: salt and pepper. Paprika is really not a season, but you grab a couple of those and you start experimenting, putting some things together, putting this together. You say, "Oh, all right, this works," and ultimately you develop some type of skill to where you can add on to that. You get out of college or wherever it was. In my case, I didn't finish, but either way, you move into post college and adulthood. You get yourself a house or apartment, and you start expanding. You start looking at some cooking shows. You buy a couple cookbooks. You ask some people, "Hey, yo, I'm trying to make this. How do I do this?" And like I said, I was fortunate enough to work in a restaurant, so I would get tips from people who actually were paid to cook. And they said, "Well, do this, do this, do this," and you look at some recipes. You try this. I remember one time, and people would probably laugh. I actually tried to come up with a watermelon spaghetti sauce. I kid you
That's
not.
that's gross. That sounds gross. Gross as hell. Mm, no.
But it really wasn't that bad because everything was homemade. Now I don't have the recipe for it because it wasn't great. It was something different. But this is how a lot of things are discovered. You take this, you put this together, put this together, and it's like take Chinese food, very popular with a lot of people. I tried to make I think it was not sweet and sour chicken, not cashew chicken, sesame seed chicken. Got it all wrong. Didn't realize I was making two things at once. I needed to make the batter for the chicken, put the chicken in there, and then deep fry it. So I mean, these are all the type of things that you work on learning how to cook. Some people go to culinary school where they make these mistakes. Uh, Actually, one gentleman that's from Niagara Falls, shout out to acknowledgement to Bobby Anderson. He was on Hell's Kitchen, with Chef Ramsay. And he's actually his business is down the street, and I actually have to get there if I can get there during his business hours to patronize. But you learn from people like that. I mean, do we have a culinary arts institute? I believe they give some free classes. I mean, a lot of these colleges you can actually pay to take a course or two, and most of the time, that's all the average person needs, whether they're male or female. Now, you want to get exotic and start doing some things that require some real talent. Well, you're gonna have to take some time. That was one of the things I was actually going to try and do this year was um, to master at least one new recipe, probably at least a month or at least a week somewhere about there, given my schedule, and just learn to expand what I can do in the kitchen. Now, I personally I like to cook. I just don't have the time to do it anymore. So I found myself eating out more often than not. And you know, just what David said, I stick to a particular set of restaurants. So whether I'm doing takeout or I'm going to pick up, I'm not moving off of those set restaurants because I know the portions are hearty, the food is going to be reasonably good, and I can get to it in time. Because as previously disclosed, I don't own a car, so if I don't want to wait half an hour, 45 minutes for delivery, I need to be able to walk somewhere in 10, 15 minutes and get back home in another 10, 15 minutes so I can sit down and eat because my schedule is all over the place. I find myself eating just before I go to bed, which is added to my weight gain is just crazy. But I mean,
Let me
there's a
say
lot of
this.
things. Yeah.
Let me say this right quick. So I know you're giving them the tools and all that, but people our age in your late 40s, early 50s, unless we doing this together, I don't have time for a woman to be learning how to cook. Learning, you need to have that skill set. Something, uh, as Kwame Brown say, you need to have that mama's cooking. You gotta have a little of that mama's cooking or something because who has time for all that? Because if you don't, what you're gonna default to is, well, this didn't come out right, so let's just head to um, let's do takeout or go out to eat. Nah, gee, not about to do that all the time. Not about to do that all the time. So I just wanted to do that in. We got Brolic T in the studio about to add her in here.
Oh
What's
shoot.
going on, Brolic T?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are
Good
you?
evening. All right, how
Good
you
evening.
doing? So I don't know how much you was listening. If you want to jump in right now, Brolic T, or I'm gonna pass it back on over to her.
Well, I think in acknowledgement to Lakia for asking this question when she did, she said, "Well, I believe it was something to the extent I'm paraphrasing, not quoting her exactly. Well, who was supposed to teach these type of things?" And this is where we always go back in reference to when we were kids. At a certain age, the young girl would go in the kitchen with her mother so she understood how to put certain things together. How to make candy apples. I know that was one of the recipes I learned from my mother, even though I don't make it often. How to make macaroni and cheese. You start with the basic things, potato salad, then you get into making greens and cornbread and all this other stuff that is more the Native Black American traditional fare. And then you can start moving into fried chicken, your baked chicken, your fish, your staples that don't take a long time to produce, provided that you've actually done things the night before. And this is when we got into the meal prep, pulling things out. And there was something that Christine said that I want to actually get into too. When she says that women say that it's the same thing, that they don't have the time. Granted, but if you as a mother or a woman as a mother, she has children, unfortunately, she has to try and find some time or create some time to where she can teach her children, whether they're male or female, how to eat properly. Because the relying on fast food takeout, what that does is it starts them on a path to where they learn to eat poorly. And if you continue to eat that high sodium content food, when you start to get into your late 20s and early 30s, you start to get into pre-hypertension mode, other cardiovascular issues, your weight suffers, and overall, ultimately, your health starts to take a hit. So, those are the things that really aren't thought about when that segment of education, if you will, is lost. So it becomes vitally impaired. It becomes vitally important for women, particularly those who have kids, to understand how to set yourself up so you can kind of condense the time. And like I said on the show last week, this is when you can bring those kids into the kitchen. Like I said, whether they're male or female, because as it stands now, there's just as many single men as there are women. And some of these men, man, I can't even speak today. Some of these men, they're also single fathers, so they need to be able to instruct their sons on how to cook and prep food as well. I know that's something I have to get better at, is meal prep. I have to be able to pull stuff out of the freezer, put it out for the next day. But my only problem is the portions. They rarely make things, for one individual. So I find myself coming home and it's like, okay, I have to eat leftovers, because if not, I'm gonna end up throwing the food away. And for me, that's wasting money, and that's the biggest pet peeve of mine. So, I mean, all these things, they start to get jumbled in like clothes in a tumble dryer, and you reach in and something's not dry, but this is dry. You say, well, how the hell is this? So all of that stuff plays into learning how to cook, learning how to meal prep, learning what cooks faster, what cooks slower, uh, microwave vegetables, instant this. I mean, all of that stuff is designed to make the food prepping process easier. And also, like I said, your health takes a toll behind it.
All right. Brolic T, you got anything you want to add to what was discussed so far?
I mean, a lot of what he said also applies to women. I mean, a lot of women don't just order out because they can't cook. A lot of them can. They just have, you know, things going on in their lives that sometimes prohibit them from going out and doing the whole full course meal with the main course and the appetizer and the dessert and stuff like that. And then also, it's all about knowing your personality. If you know that the guy you're with is not into, all that kind of stuff, you're not going to put forth all that effort. If he's the type of person that when you meet him and y'all start dating and he's just into eating hamburgers here or there or some spaghetti, you're not going to put forth the effort to make him a full course meal, because why? He's not even checking for that kind of thing. So I don't have to go above and beyond and do the extra thing. But if you meet somebody and he's the type of person that he expects a home cooked meal all the time, you're going to rise to that occasion. If this is what the expectation is, then of course I'm gonna make sure that there's a hot meal every day. I'm gonna figure it out. Not to say that there won't be occasions where I'll be like, you know what, things happen. God forbid your stove breaks at home. I can't cook dinner outside of grilling it for you. Let's order something out. So, I mean, there are exceptions to the rule. And as far as, I mean, I know lots of women who teach their daughters explicitly how to cook in the kitchen. I mean, my mom taught us in the kitchen. We all have specialties on what we cook and what we don't cook. My brothers, they all know how to cook, because one of my mom's things was, what if you never find a wife? You got to eat. So I need to be sure that, God forbid, you decide that you don't want to be bothered with a woman, or a woman doesn't want to be bothered with you. You're still able to cook and feed yourself. I mean, they've never had that issue, but my mom was just preemptive in her thinking on that. Like, as far as she was concerned, she kind of noticed a pattern of a lot of women wanting to be like in the office and not necessarily homemakers anymore. So as a result of that, she was just like, let me teach my sons a little something, so that in the event they meet a woman who doesn't want to be that stay-at-home mom, or who don't believe in cooking, he's not going to starve to death. And my brothers like to cook just because they don't trust nobody with their food. So don't trust nobody with their food. So that goes without saying. If it ain't my mother's cooking or one of their sisters, they're just like, she could cook, but I don't necessarily, when she get mad at me, I got to think about that. Do I really want to eat this dinner tonight?
You know what the funny thing is? I rarely, if ever, have had that problem. I've been in this house going on, it'll be 9 years in November. I've had a total of myself, my brother, and maybe two other people cook in my kitchen. Now, when it comes to my kitchen is kind of like my bedroom. That's the sacred place. Just everybody just don't get to walk up in there and start pulling out pots and pans. I'm just like, oh, what are you doing? You got to be certified to use that thing right there, and the certification expert is me when it comes to my palate. It's just like Balati is saying. Do I trust you enough to allow you into my kitchen? And chances are for me, yes, because if I allow you in my house, then chances are I can trust you with some food that you're going to prepare. Now, whether you're cooking something fire is a different story. But there's always this thing, is like David said, know your personnel.
And you said that.
Yeah. Actually,
You can move a couch, you could go in the kitchen and move some pots and pans around.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why I made the story. That's why I told the story about the watermelon spaghetti sauce. I don't have a problem with it.
You keep saying that gross.
I don't have a problem with experiment and try, because if I'm going to experiment and try something, at least I'm going to know what it is. I'm not going to roll that out on a date or when somebody comes over to cook. Hey, I just tried this. Won't you try it? I'm not going to do that. That's somebody to just be like, really? I came over here and this is what you're going to give me? Boy, I'd have smack taste out your mouth. So no, I wouldn't do that to anybody. But like I said, some people, they won't go into the kitchen. They won't try and learn for fear of failure. It's like the only way you learn how to do something, doesn't matter what it is if you try and do it. Now, like you were saying, Brother T, a lot of women, they don't want to be the homemaker anymore. They want to be out earning their money, and that's fine. And I begrudge nobody any ill will or malice that wants to chart their own path in life. I think the problem with our modern society is that when it comes to actually settling down for those who do, whether you get married or not is immaterial. If you start to cohabitate, or you get to a point where you're familiar with the person that you're seeing, and you don't want to go out, you want to have a nice home cooked meal, who's going to be responsible for that? Is it going to be I do it once, you do it once, or we always consistently go out? Because at a point in time, that becomes expensive. You can spend $500 going out to eat in a month, or you can spend $300 in groceries, invest that other 200, or do something else with that other 200, and you can sit there and enjoy each other's company. And you can, and I don't know how many people do this. You make cooking a romantic thing. However you choose to do it, whatever you choose to do, whether you start off with some oysters. I personally don't eat oysters and shrimp. For me, that messes. It's like like y'all talk about the watermelon spaghetti sauce. I can't mess with it. The only seafood I eat is pretty much fish, and that's pretty much it. So I mean, you can make it into a sexual thing. You can do this, you can do that. You can start out with a fondue. You can move to this, or you can end with a fondue. Your different types of salads, whether you want a dinner salad, or there's a lot of different things that you can do in the kitchen that can encompass two people, or somebody can have a skill set and somebody else can have another skill set. Y'all put them two together. Next thing you know, you guys start to learn from each other. You start to pick up some tips. Say, well, how do you make this? How do you make pierogies? You can make some dough from scratch. Wow, hey, I can do some amazing things with some chicken. How about you make that dough, or I'll do this beef, or I'll do this, and we'll do this. And the other last thing that a lot of people don't consider when cooking, especially in the summertime, because a lot of people, I don't care who you are, you don't want to be in a hot kitchen. The grill is a perfect tool to utilize. If you have a deck in your backyard, or even an enclosure on your front porch, or front porch where you can sit out a gas grill, you can make shish kebabs, corn on the cob. You can grill that. I was just mentioning seafood, shrimp. You can cook shrimp on the grill. Some of these grills now, they have almost fully fully functional kitchens, especially if you have a propane extension. You can sit out there and make not a seafood salad. I'm sorry. Uh, um, a pasta dish with seafood, shrimp scampi. You can make all of that stuff, provided you know the basics. This is why I always tell people, start with the basics. You say, hey, hon, what are you doing tonight? I just got home. I'm tired. I got some shrimp on the grill. I got some shrimp kebabs. I got some beef kebabs. I got some turkey kebabs. I got some potato salad. I made some mashed potatoes. I got some macaroni. Yo, how you had time to whip this up? Well, I just had stuff sitting out. I just decided to put something together. It took me 45 minutes, and what I don't eat, I can put in the refrigerator. I can take to work tomorrow. Get it to my work husband. He'll love it. He doesn't have anybody to cook for. Hey, he's gonna be elated.
Wow.
I mean, but this
Yeah,
this
you
sound.
start fighting the house with that one.
Say that again.
Trying to start a fight in the house with that one.
No,
Taking food to a work husband. You starting all kinds of trouble in that house now.
Well, no, I'm not saying she has to verbalize that. I'm just saying she can put it in the refrigerator. What I don't eat, I'll make sure it gets consumed. By who? I'll figure it out. I'll give it to my neighbor down the street. She has a difficult time maneuvering. I'm just saying you don't always have to disclose everything you do to somebody, particularly if there's nothing behind the action. And I think a lot of people get that confused. They start thinking, well, you're hiding something from your mate. That's a lie. No.
Whatever. I don't know no man in their right mind, whether they're secure or insecure, will be okay with their wife or their girlfriend taking that good meal out of the house to another man. I'm sorry. I just don't know no man like that.
I was just
I don't
gonna.
know no man like that.
I was just gonna say.
There's gonna be some questions asked. If it's not your sibling or your daddy, you gonna answer some questions on why is he getting food? What makes him so special?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like, how do you explain when there's a bunch of leftovers over and your man comes and like, all right, I know what I'm about to tackle when I get off work, and all of a sudden it's gone. And you say, oh, I took it to work for my work.
To do.
Well, I'm speaking specifically for the people that don't live together. You see each other maybe once or twice a week. How long do you want leftovers to sit in the refrigerator before they become inedible, or do you just discard them?
See, that's the importance of knowing how to cook smaller meals dedicated to however many people you are trying to feed. So if it's only 2 of you, there shouldn't be any leftovers if you know how to cook. And that's another thing. As far as what you were saying before about who should do the cooking, well, that boils down to the 2 people in the situation. They decide who will cook. Because I mean, for example, I will admit there's certain things that my husband can cook that I can't cook. And that's just the bottom line, because there's certain things that I don't eat. So because I don't eat them, of course I'm not going to cook them that well, because there are things that I just don't eat. So for the things that I don't eat and that I started eating once I got with him, then it's like, okay, well, that's your specialty. You cook that. And there are some things that my husband can't cook that I would go in the kitchen and make, because I know he can't cook it. I've tried to eat it, and I was just like, nope, next time I'm not going to torture myself trying to force this down. I'm just going to do it myself. And it's all about the dynamics of the relationship, so to speak. Like, they have to decide how it is that how they want it to be. I mean, if the standard is when they first meet that, he don't let anybody cook his meals and he's going to do all the cooking, fine. Then on occasions where he's not sleeping over or visiting, if they don't live together, then she will cook for herself. But then when he's around, he'll do the cooking, and vice versa. So it's all about the dynamics of the relationship will determine who cooks. Like, my in-laws, they cook together. It's very rare that I see just one of them in the kitchen. They cook together, and I just think it's the cutest thing. I couldn't cook in the kitchen with my husband because I'd be ready to stab him with a fork.
Wow.
Why? I would and see which answers a question I was going to ask. Have either one of you learned something from the other? But apparently not.
No, I mean we have learned something from one another. It's just that when
I'm
I'm the
talking
type of
about
person, I
other than
don't.
stabbing somebody.
No, I mean I'm the type of person that. Let me rephrase that. I'm the type of person when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very no nonsense. And my
Yeah,
husband's very goofy, so he likes to play around in the kitchen. And I'm like, that's how people get burned. If you're gonna
yeah,
play, get out of my kitchen.
yeah, yeah.
You're gonna
Don't
play,
be
get out of
playing
the
up in my
kitchen. You
kitchen,
can't
boy.
be in here with me.
Yeah, I'm like that too. That's what I. You know what the funny thing is? If you're going to be in my kitchen while I'm cooking, sit you behind to the table, enjoy your wine and watch. That's just like I said. I'm fussy about my kitchen. You know, my kitchen is it's like I said just last show on the last show we had. You know, food is a gift from a God, and preparation is a form of praise. And and when I'm and they're praying over the food, praising it up, don't come in and start messing around. I know I said some people you can make it romantic, but if I'm standing there with a chef knife and you trying to get close, I don't need to lose a finger because you're trying to be romantic, and I certainly don't need to get popped by no hot water, because hey, I've been burned by some hot cooking oil. That shit hurt. I'm gonna tell you
Yeah, yes, it
that
does. It hurts a lot.
that shit hurts.
So let me ask you this. So despite all these ingredients, watermelon sauce, spaghetti, whatever you said, and all this other shit, is cooking or food for men the key through their heart? Is that something that like they get extra points? I think Anwar said like 50 extra points for a great cooking meal. Is that the key? Do you really believe that? To a
Oh,
man's heart?
for some men, absolutely. Like you were saying yourself, you don't cook for some men who come home and they're in construction, and they get home, they're physically exhausted. If they got a plate of something hot, oh yeah, you gonna curry some favor with them, especially if you can follow it up with some other things. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They might roll out the red carpet where somebody like me, I'm like, okay, for me that's I consider that to be standard fare. If you can't cook, then I'm like, what am I gonna do with you? I remember years ago, and when I say years ago, I was dealing with this female, and she just had no idea. I mean, just none. That was in my apartment. I was staying across town. I said, all right, you know what? Go in there, because she thought it was easy. I'm going there. I said, whatever's in the kitchen is yours. You do what you want to with it. Absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
How, how
I'm not gonna shout her name out, but she's come up a very long way, and she has children, so it compelled her to learn how to prepare food. Now she's probably a better cook than I am because of the amount of time that she spends cooking.
how do
But
you
this is what I was. Go ahead, Dave.
how do you tell someone when they prepare that meal and take the time that shit is horrible? Not horrible, horrible. How do you tell them that?
You mean that the macaroni and the peas all mush and the chicken tastes like wood?
Yeah, how do you tell them that?
There is no easy way, man. You got to pull them aside and say, "Hey, look, you got to improve. You have to improve." It's
So when
sometimes
they ask you,
there's
so
an easy way.
do you like it? You say to them, you need to improve. You need some improvement. So it was all right. It's not all that. How do you say that? Because most people will fake it and just like and let it go on. Or when the next time she may say, "Well, I was planning on having you come over. I was going to cook this," and then you might come up with something and say, "Well, actually, I had taste for such and such restaurant. Why don't we go out with it?" I mean, sooner or later, it's going to be. Most people probably going to try to soften the blow.
I'm not a soft and a blow type of person when it comes to certain things. There's a lot of things concerning me that I'm okay with. My food is one. You can't mess up my food, man. I'm sorry. I'll hit the roof. Food, my money, my finances, my family, and things of that nature. Now, zero tolerance. So if you're gonna do something for me in terms of cooking, make sure you got it right. That's all I'm asking. Make sure you got it right, because I'm gonna let you know. Look, this ain't gonna do. This is not gonna do. We still cool, like the song, baby bubba. We still friends, but your cooking got to improve. It reminds me of the song Slick Rick too, Davy Crockett. Um, when he talked about the same thing, I think that wasn't Rapper's Delight. That I can't remember. I always get Rapper's Delight and the other one mixed up. But it's cooking is a process, and for men that don't learn, absolutely a woman that can, oh, she's gonna get that road paved right to his heart. Eventually, now how he treats her in the meanwhile, that's a completely different ball game, because she might say, okay, wait a minute. I know, quote unquote, he needs me to cook for him because he can't do a damn thing for himself. Only thing he can do is throw a frozen pizza in the oven, or microwave a TV dinner, or microwave this, and his health is going to be terrible. He already is pre-diabetic. He already has pre-hypertension. So the question becomes, what do we want out of these type of relationships where, there's got to be something for something? Are we coming into situations on good faith? See, me, I'm not necessarily looking for someone to do something for me. I'm not looking for a person to be able to cook and I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do something for somebody because that's just the way I am. But that's why I'm selective with the people that I allow into my personal space and into my personal life, because not everybody's worthy of that. And when I say that, the first thing that people ask is, well, who do you think you are? And I will tell everybody I'm a sovereign person, the same as you are. We have to understand that not everyone is worthy of your red carpet treatment. And what I mean by that is this: you might be willing to do something for person A that you may not be willing to do for person B, because you know that if push comes to shove and you call person A for something, person A is going to help you out. Whereas person B might be kind of, they might be kind of suspect. They, hit or miss, their first thing they're going to ask you, well, what's in it for me? As my boys like to say, with them, what's in it for me? And the first thing somebody's going to say is, why do I always have to do something to get something? Remember when I did this for you? Remember when I did this for you? I didn't ask for anything in return. And this starts to create the era of resentment that a lot of people have, whether it's, the resentment that goes on between modern women and modern men, always looking for something in return for something. What I've discovered is this. This is just my own personal life. That the more I do for an individual, the more I get on the back end from somewhere else. It may not be from that person. It just may be from a stranger. It might be from a coworker. It just might be from an unexpected source. But I have also benefited from people just giving, just to give. And I always reference this as a foster child. I benefited from people opening their doors to me. So I have absolutely no problem with doing something for someone that I deem worthy. And I know it sounds, selective, and it should be, because I'll reiterate, not everybody should be entitled to your red carpet treatment. Because what happens is this: once you do something for one person, they'll tell somebody. That person, not knowing you as well as the person you do the other things for, will come around and say, well, you did it for this person, why can't you do it for me? And they'll say, well, what's so special about that person that's not special about me? And you have to have the backbone to stand up and tell them that person has earned the treatment that they get from me. You haven't. And I think therein lies a problem, that we have a lot of people that don't want to alienate people by telling them the truth. And I think when you don't do that, you create an era of resentment and expectations that can't even be met, but they don't need to be met, because somebody that doesn't do anything for you without something in return, they don't deserve anything from you. But that's just my perspective on it.
Well, let I can remember this was years ago. Again, I had moved to Buffalo, which is only a 15-minute ride away, but it was closer to my job. One of my boys, he was like, "Yo, why you commute? You could just come stay at the house, whatever, and stay there." And he was working in Rochester. He was like, "It'll be like a 5-minute ride for me." So again, remember, I said I wasn't much of a cook, but I was dating or dealing with this woman that she called herself a cook or whatever the case is. But when y'all talk about, a lot of times when I was making posts throughout the week, women was talking about reciprocation and stuff like that. Well, I was doing a lot like for her, like taking her to work, back and forth. Uh, when something went wrong with my car, I was obviously it was my car, so I had to get it fixed, whatever. She wasn't willing to give anything, and I couldn't get a damn sandwich out of her. I couldn't get a damn sandwich out of her. Not a sandwich in a bag of chips or anything. And again, we talk about KYP, know your personnel. She knew me. She knew what I was about. She knew, okay, if he's in Niagara Falls, he's gonna be fine because he gonna have people that look out, whether it's my mother, grandmother, and all that stuff. Then I had this woman prior to that one who she cooked. That was her thing. That was her family thing. So she would hit me up sometimes and say, "David, I know you live in Buffalo. What the hell you eating?" Obviously, I always been a big guy, so I eat. I eat. That's never the issue. But her concern was like, man, like I just can't imagine. I'm wondering what you eating. So she would always like, well, I made this. You should come over. And then finally I broke down and told her, like, man, like, damn, I'm dealing with this chick. I can't even get a goddamn sandwich from her. And she kind of got personal entertainment off of that. And she's like, I guess the grass ain't greener on the other side or whatever the case is. But her whole thing was, listen, you ain't got to worry about that on my end. If you want something to eat or you want something cooked, you know how I do. You know how my family do. And so, I had learned a lot in that process. And I always go back to the scenario situation with my grandmother. I always said, like, if somebody can't help you cross that bridge, you go one way and they go the other. So in that situation, I said to myself, damn, there's no reciprocation in this. I can't even get a goddamn sandwich from this chick. So that eventually I started distancing myself from her. And actually and people say I never go back. But the one that was more family oriented, who cooked more, I started kind of seeing her again. And I guess in that situation, food, a good meal of food can, get to your heart or whatever the case is in that situation. Now that wasn't the end all be all, and it, like I said, but it was a valuable lesson learned in that situation, that some people are willing to do more than others. And if they're not willing to do shit and you're doing everything you can, then it's time to move away from that. So that's my reason for telling that story. I hope it wasn't long-winded or anything, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, for me, it goes without saying. And saw somewhere in the chat that all relationships are transactional. Who I'm not sure who said that, but the thing about all relationships being transactional was this: yes, they are, but the way that they are is the difference. And let me explain what I mean by that. we get in a symbiotic relationship. I'll provide something, and this individual can benefit from what I provide. Case in point, I know how to repair small engines. I can do certain things. So your lawnmower is acting. If I come over, I'll fix your lawnmower. You say, you know what? I can't pay you monetarily. It's, almost kind of goes back to bartering. But this is what I can do. I'll prepare you a meal. We call it even. That's our rapport. That's our relationship. Now it might come. It might come a time where you might need something else done. You say, well, you know what? This individual can do this. Let me call him. And you guys work out something. That's the transaction in the relationship. But not everybody's relationship is going to be the same. So when I see that, I often wonder, yes, it is, but how? Because now that we have a form of currency, the transaction becomes money. It no longer becomes, I'm going to do something for this individual because they're my friend and they're going to return that sometime down the line. I don't know. It might be a year from now, might be 2 years from now. I might need to call and say, yo, I ran out of gas. Can you come help me? Or I need to pull, these brakes off these cars. Can you come help me? Or I need somebody, I have to run somewhere. Can you come sit with my kids? I can trust you well enough to while I go do this because I can't take them with me. Whatever the case is. So that transaction is always going to be dependent upon the individuals involved.
Okay, so the comment it started with Lorenzo Hare, who said that modern relationships in the Black community sound so transactional. That's unfortunate. So then the response was, all relationships are transactional when you think about it, and it doesn't matter the race, which is true. Most marriages are what? A transaction. A ring is what? A promise. A promise, an engagement ring is a promise that you will marry this person. That's why in some courts they force you to give it back when you break up. In some, they look at it as a gift. It all depends on what state you live in, whether you're going to get your ring back or not. So you might want to think about, do I really want to spend my life with this person before you go buying that ring? Next. It is a transaction. Marriage is a transaction because guess what? When you put that final ring on her finger, that is a promise that you are going to live up to everything that you said you were going to do when this whole ship began and it took off from port. So, yes, relationships are transactional. So for the comeback of, in my and many guys who I've discussed this with observation, it's more prevalent. It's not more prevalent in the Black community because all that I ever seem to hear when I come on this podcast is how all Black relationships are falling apart and we have the highest divorce rate. So we can't possibly be the ones with what can you do for me mentality when a majority of the time it seems like we ain't even got real relationships going on anymore because no woman wants to get married. I mean, these are the things that I'm constantly hearing. So it's kind of hard for me to follow that logic when I see it written in the comments about how it's what can you do for me. I mean, that's kind of the premise of marriage. Okay, if I marry you, will you cook for me? Will you pay all the bills? Like these are the things that people promise each other. So it's kind of hard to look at it as a transactional thing when it's more or less an agreement. Okay, if you marry me, I'm agreeing that since you like home cooked meals every day, I'm gonna make sure that there's a hot meal on the table every day when you get home. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I gotta go out in the backyard and grill it, it's gonna be on the table by the time you get home. And vice versa. I'm setting the agreement that if I marry you, you'll never have to pay a bill because that is the agreement. And that is what I said that I would do for you when we started this whole thing. So I don't really look at it as a transaction, so to speak. It's more or less of, okay, I'm willing to meet your needs. You are willing to meet my needs. This is what I need from you if we're going to be together. What do you need from me?
So
And transaction based.
so basically, and we've talked about this before. Maybe not since this platform where we could actually see each other. But I know in previous platforms I had that sometimes, marriage, there's the love component, but it also is business. So
Hmm.
when you think of business, there is going to be some transactions and things of that nature. So that's, it's not a false statement. With that said, but it's the way sometimes people look at it, because when we talked about that in previous things, previous shows, people like, no, marriage is not a business. Oh, it's a business. There's money.
Definitely a
Yeah,
business.
yeah. So people need to
Money's
understand
not
that.
necessarily always exchanged, but it is a business.
Yeah, and that's true.
Transactions deal more or less with money. Money is not always exchanged. It's very rare nowadays that you see a marriage where a woman is actually given a dowry for marrying a man. That shit went out ages ago. So that's why I'm like, it's more or less needs based now. You need something, I need something. Can we mutually agree that we will do the things that we need for each other? Because there's no money being exchanged when you talk about marriage. That's a transaction, it involves money.
Girly girl,
Hey, sweet pea.
how you doing?
I'm finding yourself.
I know you heard a lot, and I know you have something to say.
No, I really, I'm not exactly sure what you guys are talking about. I looked at the caption, and I thought y'all were talking about cooking. Um,
Well, it,
but
it, it started off. Well, that was the premise of the thing.
You
Like,
know how these sidebar conversations go. I
yeah,
yeah,
just responded to a comment, like, that's one way to look at it, but ain't no money being exchanged. So it's more need based than anything.
and I'm assuming y'all are talking about marriage now.
well, one of the things is from, was it last Thursday show when we was talking about work wives, work
Yeah.
husbands, and people
Oh
were
yeah.
saying that cooking is an intimate thing. So then we decided, we came up with the topic: who taught you women how to land a man? Is it through his stomach? So is cooking and all
Oh,
that stuff the key, the end all be all? Like, if you can cook or you can do this, that's gonna lead that man to essentially be with you, probably over someone who decides, oh, I don't cook, I don't do this or that. So
um,
that's where it started from. But
I
and
I think that is individual based. I mean, me personally, I think any man that can cook it will attract my attention because I like to eat. Um, but I don't consider it. It wouldn't be a reason why I wouldn't date somebody. I think everybody needs to know how to cook because food is a necessity, so it's not really a luxury. It can be intimate. Um, I've tried cooking naked in the kitchen. It didn't turn out well, but I tried it. Uh, I got burned with some chicken grease, and that wasn't fun. But as far as using cooking to land a man, I haven't had to do that, but I know there are men out there that food is definitely the way to their heart. So I can understand that. Cleaning is the way to my heart. You got a clean house, but I mean, really, to each his own. I know my grandma, she cooked every single day. I only cook Sunday through Thursday. I don't cook on Fridays and Saturdays. I don't care if you eat or if you don't. Make it happen. Saturday's my cleaning day, so I don't really cook on Saturdays. I start over on Sunday, and Friday when I get off work, I'm just trying to wind down and get myself ready for what I'm getting ready to do on Saturday. So I don't cook on those 2 days. So if somebody was dependent on me to feed them, they would go hungry on Friday and Saturday. But
oh
but that's
wow.
me. Yeah, you're gonna go hungry. You gonna order a pizza or you'll bring something home. But that's just me because I work and I work hard. But I'm the only person in my house outside of my daughter, who cooks. So, very seldom do we eat out around here. Somebody's always cooking. So those 2 days that we choose not to cook, everybody's used to it. That's how my kids were brought up. And so it's not a big thing in our house for me not to be in the kitchen on a Friday night or a Saturday night. But it's not like there's not leftovers. Like, you're going to really starve to death. Just don't expect me to be in the kitchen doing it. But I know there are men out there that they have that expectation. And if they have a wife that's willing to do that, I support that. The guy that I see, he cooks certain things better than I do, and I can appreciate that. So when he's here and he does the cooking, if he cooks, I clean the kitchen, vice versa. But I support anybody that's willing to get in the kitchen. I consider it a labor of love. I don't like to cook. I cook because we have to eat, period. That's my only reason for being in there. But I was listening to her talk about marriage being a contract. I haven't been married, so I really wouldn't know. But I guess it kind of sounds like, it would be a contract or a business transaction between two people. I guess when you come down to it, I hope I wouldn't look at it that way. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, that really is what it is. Because when people get divorced, it really becomes a business
Yes,
transaction.
sir.
So I guess when you enter into it, you should probably, I guess if more people looked at it along the way, but it seems kind of sad that people go into a marriage planning for divorce. When people are signing prenups, and I know they're people are trying to protect their interests, especially if one of those two people is just like rich or owns a business that they built from the ground up, that sort of thing. But it seems kind of sad that you have to, in this day and age, that you have to go into a marriage preparing for a divorce and making provisions for that nobody wipes you clean or, gets greedy, whatever the case may be. So, I guess I can't really argue that some people see it as a business transaction or a contract, because you got to sign all this paperwork. You got to
Mhm.
get a damn license. You got to take blood tests. You got to show all types of ID. You have to swear before God. You have to have witnesses. They have to sign. So when you really think about it, outside of the romantic aspect of getting married, um, I guess it is. So, you know.
True. True.
It's a
Yeah,
shame that it has to be that way, but
well, that feeds into what I always talk about in terms of the modern culture, and being that you know marriage is no longer the institution that it once was. That's not good or bad. It's just a landscape of Western culture. When I say Western culture, I'm talking about cultures where women are afforded the opportunity to go out and earn, the same as a man. And Bala T mentioned it earlier when she spoke about dowry. And for people that are unfamiliar with a dowry is I won't say a fee. It's,
it
for lack of a
is
better term,
a
it's a
present.
fee, yeah, a bride price that a man pays to the family for the right of the woman, essentially. Usually that guarantees that that woman is a virgin, and he will be the only man to actually physically enter her and to continue on the legacy and the build for the next generations to come. So that's part of the reason why the dowry system was put in place, was to continue the legacy and the financial security of the generations to come. But that's usually relegated to, I won't say Eastern cultures, just non-modern cultures, where some marriages are prearranged and set up, in the boy and the girl, or the young woman and the young daughter, they don't have a say. They just have to do it because their families arrange it, and that's just a culture that they have. So I mean, for for a lot of people, marriage will be the biggest decision that they ever make in their life. And with the divorce rate, and I just want to throw this out, the divorce rate across ethnicities is rising. And it's just not in the Native Black American community, also Caucasians, Hispanics. I'd imagine probably, at least in this country, Asians as well. So it's, it's just a dichotomy of all the things that go into modern relationships now that weren't an issue 50, 60 years ago. So I mean, all this stuff, somebody learning how to cook, somebody willing to change the diaper of the newborn, somebody getting up doing midnight feedings. The only thing a man really isn't capable of doing that a female has exclusive domain is breastfeeding. I know they're trying to come up with ways to help men do that, but I just don't see how it's physically possible. You might be able to take some milk that she's pumped from her breast and do a feeding, but you're never going to be able to actually mimic the physical feat of breastfeeding. That's just my perspective on it.
Yeah, but I think the more people move away from gender roles, um, the more you see couples being more involved in things like that. I mean, it sounds kind of depressing to have your family arrange your marriage. It takes all of the romance out of the relationship. I was reading the comment below, and he was saying that marriage was it's a transaction, but he was talking about the romantic aspects of just being in a relationship. And to me, that would be more important than the actual transaction of being together. I know everybody wants their assets protected, and I don't hate on anybody for that because you just never know. Um, but this whole thing about, Western culture and how, women are afforded the right to do, certain things, it should be like that for everyone. People shouldn't be beholden to anyone, for anything. And that's not a dig on anybody's culture because, of course, do you, but the thought that somebody would pay my father and take me away from him and marry me not knowing anything about me and would expect me to lay down with him and produce some children, that's a damn stretch. I would think for anybody, I would much rather be broken in love with my husband, and Lord knows I don't want to be broke, than to just not know my husband just for the sake of continuing a bloodline. That it sounds ridiculous to me, but again, I know there are cultures that are like that, and I don't hate against that. If it works for them, it works for them. But the fact that people have an opportunity to stay in a marriage, enter a marriage, leave a marriage, I don't see that as a bad thing. Some people marry young, they grow into different people and realize that they're not compatible. Some people are high school sweethearts, think they knew who they were marrying and they were not. Some people wear masks and they marry. Some women marry for money, and when the money's gone, they're gone too. Some men marry for the looks, and when the looks are gone, they're gone too. There are so many reasons why people stay and why they leave. And it would be nice if we could all get back to the basics that, you're compatible with me, I'm compatible with you. I love you. I want to protect you. I want to care for you. If people really took their vows a lot more seriously and probably paid more attention to their marriage than what everybody else has to say about what's going on in the world, maybe people could stay together. But, you know, times have changed. Marriage just ain't a popular thing like how it used to. A lot of people got married out of necessity back in the day,
Mhm.
and they stayed together out of necessity, back in the day. Not to say that people didn't love each other, but I mean, it truly was a necessity. Women weren't working. Black men only had certain jobs. They were factory workers or railroad workers, whatever the case may be, and they relied on their wives, to make sure that they were well taken care of so that they could go out and work. But, it's not like that anymore. Um, I would like to be married, but I'm not pressed, about it. But, we can't live in the past. What's going on right now is what's going on right now.
One of the things, and I always make reference to her, some of his quotes, whatever. He's actually basketball coach for UCLA, John Wooden, the great John Wooden. He always said the process is always greater than the end. Like when we talk about marriage, that process of courting, being in love, and all of that stuff. When you think about that stuff, those are the conversations people have. Remember we used to do this. Remember we used to do that. Remember we used to laugh at that. Then when you get to the end result, now you look at each other, and that's where the financial and the business aspect come, and you forget about the fun you had leading up to the process. So I want people to always think about the process. Sometimes the process is always greater than the end result. And sometimes people fight for the end result, like they like, oh, I want to be married, I want to do this, but that process is the thing that got you there. And unless you're able to shift the gears and say, man, let's go back to the process. Remember, we used to do this. Remember, we used to have fun. Remember, we used to laugh. Now, shit, we barely even talk to each other. We barely even enjoy each other. And I think that's where sometimes people go wrong at. And I got Lakia coming in, but before that, I got some I got the stimulus package to give away for and I'm shaking it up whatever for the top participant in May in the counselor's corner. So let me pull this name so I can send them the cash app. Then I'm gonna let her in and see who's gonna be the lucky winner. Who's gonna be the lucky winner? Here we go. Mm-hmm. So the lucky winner for the month of May is Robin Brown. So I'll reach out to you, Robin. You have won the $25 Cash App stimulus package. I will reach out to you shortly and make sure I send you your fees, your winnings. Lorenzo said UCLA fight. Great quote by the Honorable John Wooden. Yeah, John Wooden has some quotes for life, for real.
Yeah. Just to follow up with what Rebecca was saying, her statement reminds me of the very beginning of the movie Wedding Crashers, and that really encapsulates a whole lot of modern relationships, particularly when it comes to marriage. And like I said, for a lot of people, it's going to be the biggest decision that they're making. And then I'll, borrow another movie and reference what was said in that one, and that's the Bucket List, where he tells Norton, or I'm sorry, not Norton, I can't remember his name, the character played by getting names right now. You told him find the joy in it, and I think often when we get in our day-to-day grinds, whatever your day-to-day grind is, we often don't find any joy in it. We come home and it's like, I gotta deal with this, I gotta deal with the kids, I gotta listen to her, I gotta listen to him, I gotta do this. So the question becomes, you start to ask yourself, why am I subjecting myself to something that just caused me so much angst? Because one time it didn't used to be like this. I would be happy to come home. I'd be happy to see my kids. I'd be happy to do this. I'd be happy to do that. Because it moved everything towards the next goal. And I think now, and I can't remember where I heard this, modern relationships have become disposable. So, we think I got this relationship, I can go find another one to replace this individual. Or guys are a dime a dozen, or women are a dime a dozen. I could find one just like I found you, and I don't give a care, and yada yada yada. And it becomes a cycle that feeds upon itself. So we start to treat people as less than people. We start to put them in a grind and just whatever we reach in and pull out, that's what we get. And if I don't like it, regardless of how they feel about something, discard them. I'll be the first to say that when it comes to certain things, I'm putting myself number one. I don't have a problem with saying that. but I also am not going to be that caustic that I don't care about certain individuals. This is why I don't always deal with everybody on the same level. Some people I'll keep at arm's length. Some people they never get around me just because I see certain things and it sends up an alarm bell. Now I say, you know what? Nah, I already know how this is going to end before it even gets started. And some people say, well, how can you say that? Been down that road before. I don't need to jump over the cliff to know I'm gonna need a parachute or I'm gonna end up like Wile E. Coyote. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Um, I'm not that brave when it comes to certain things. I'm gonna follow my instincts and my hunches that got me this far. They can't be that wrong.
I mean, but if the fact of the matter that most of what you said is true. Women are a dime a dozen and so are men. So if you're in a relationship and it ain't working for you and you choose to leave, I don't see anything wrong with that. Um, I think you should work at your marriage, and I do believe that marriage is work, that it's daily work because you're dealing with somebody that is not blood related to you, which we tend to be more tolerant of our blood family than anybody who is not. But you know, I couldn't see myself staying in any relationship that I wasn't happy in, especially if I've made an attempt to work at it and it's still failing. Um, I don't see why, anyone would want to stay there. Shit like that tends to breed abuse and neglect and financial ruin and, stuff like that. People get petty, on both sides, and, all types of ill things could happen from that. But, I do think that if you take the time to get married, or at least get to know your mate before you marry them, some people get married quick and it lasts a lifetime, and others don't get so lucky, and it doesn't last. He always says, know your personnel. And I would think that you would want to know your personnel, inside and out, before you marry them. But shit, you got people out here that have been married 3, 4, 5 times, and they don't have no problem with that. They just, it didn't work with you and moving on to the next one. And
Sound like Adam Chandler and Palmer Courtland from All But
do
Your.
you. I'm a firm believer in, doing you. And, if you want to keep trying until you get it right, have at it. If you can afford to keep getting married and getting divorced, have at it. But I don't think people should stay where they don't feel loved or wanted or needed. And I know some people stay together for the kids or for the money because they really do have to. But I couldn't see myself doing that. I absolutely couldn't see myself being miserable just to make somebody else happy.
All right, Lakia.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I just
How you
wanted to
doing?
come on for a minute. Good, thanks. I'm on the road, so forgive me for any background. And I will just, I've been wanting to tap in a little like before, but like I said, I'm on the road. I don't be driving without not getting any tickets. But real quick, several things y'all talked about. It's funny, and it's to piggyback off Rebecca just said. I just talked to a guy today that's married, and his wife found his code and went through his phone and saw that he had conversations with other women. So this guy haven't left his wife, cheating on her all the time, but he ain't leaving her because they have kids. But she can leave you and take half. You've been trying to he's been trying to stay for the kids, but now she can leave you and take half because he didn't want to pay child support. So people be doing things that's just, crazy. Where it's like, why? What's the whole point of staying in your relationship? Because you're trying to save yourself from spending all this child support. But if you get caught, you're gonna have to pay for your money anyway. So what's the point? Say that. And then secondly, I read 2 articles today where in India these people are doing arranged marriages. So the woman had a heart attack. Did anybody see that article? The woman had a heart attack at her wedding, while she was saying her vows. They took her to the hospital, pronounced her dead. While they were at the hospital, the groom's like, now who am I going to marry? The family gives her his sister, give him the girl's sister who just died, the younger sister. Nobody saw that article.
No, I didn't.
Mm-mm.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. I wish I'm share with y'all. And then so they both sides of the family said, sure, we agree. While they go to the house and have a ceremony, they bring the sister's body back to the house because that's tradition before she's cremated to be in the house. Isn't that crazy? Do you ever hear anything like that? That's
No.
arranged
This,
marriages
but
in India are
excuse
going
me.
on right now.
But this is why
Definitely.
this is why I always advocate for, for people to read about other cultures, because one of the things that we don't, let me not say don't, one of the things we may not understand or know about India is their caste system. India has a caste system that dates back hundreds of years,
Hundreds.
if not
Yep.
thousands.
They're not the only country that has a caste system either.
Correct. And their dowry system is really heavily entrenched in a lot of villages. I won't say cultures, because India is, a lot like sub-Saharan Africa. There's still some villages in there. And actually, if you go to China, you still deal with a lot of villages where the language is not the main one spoken by the masses. Like, for instance, China has two main languages, Cantonese and Mandarin. So it's the same thing with India. They have a lot of different dialects, and some of those cultural norms are so entrenched that the only way to actually change them is to get rid of the people. I'm not advocating genocide. I'm just simply saying that that's the culture. So it becomes almost impossible to change that culture. This is why I always advocate for, not trying to change the culture, but just understand that that's the way those people operate. That sounds so
I
terrible,
mean,
but
that's why
that's
a
the
lot
way
of
they,
people move from their different countries and they go to other countries because they want to have the freedom to make choices that they wouldn't normally have in their country. So if
yeah,
you're in a society where arranged marriages is normal, and you decide to be, that parent who wants to give their child the option to find love versus being forced into marrying a complete stranger like you were, well, you take that risk and you move to another country and you see if it works. A lot of times they end up resorting to, there was a whole series on Netflix about these couple, these families who moved to America and then they ended up having to get a matchmaker to find somebody for their child to marry. Not necessarily an arranged marriage, but they had a matchmaker hook them up with people to see if they would be compatible with somebody so that they could get married.
yeah, it's
You
it's
know, because
it's
they
tough. Go
they
ahead.
look at marriage and back to, so that goes back to what you guys were talking about when it comes to marriage being a transaction. It's a partnership, it's a contract, it's all of that, because they look at marriage as this is a contract between two families. This is like, and it's all about the blessings come when two come together. And when I was reading that, and I read another article too where it was somewhat similar, but anyway, and that's why and if you think about it, they are very united as families, and I believe because of the honor of the marriage. Where here in the United States, we don't honor marriage. We don't look at marriage as really coming together as a contract binding and creating and and passing it down to the next generation. All we think about is ourselves in the moment, and all we want to give, we want to deal with, we don't want to deal with, this, that, or the other. We don't consider the fact that you being alone and leaving another woman alone is not the answer, but coming together as a and looking at the family unit, that's what's necessary, and that is blessings in it. Because I'm going to share about the word, if you like it or not. It says one chase a thousand.
Well, They said the hell with that word. All right, we can move forward because she probably got disconnected or ran into a bad spot. So as we can see, I mean, there's no. I always say there's no one size fit all um, to this. You can look at different cultures. You can look at family tradition, and I guess the bottom line is we have
So,
to look at
hold on
what's
one
in our
second.
heart.
1 second. So at the end of the day, Lorenzo, nobody's denying that. The problem is nobody has a solution for that issue. And I'm all about solutions and getting stuff done. So when you can come up with a viable solution on how people can fix this divide and fix this issue with coexisting that we have going on, then we could talk all day and all night. But just talking about numbers and what is, that's not helping the situation. I need some solutions. So if you ain't got a solution, then you might as well sit out and figure it out.
What did he say? What did I miss? What did he say?
I'm on. This is the last thing I seen them posted.
I get marriage is the ultimate goal, but as a community, we are struggling just to coexist between the sexes and have functional relationships. Folks can deny this all they want, but the numbers don't lie. I mean, I kind of agree. This reoccurring topic about between the sexes, I'm still dumbfounded by it all because I just don't understand how people want to exclude certain people out of the community. And I don't know if he's specifically talking about the Black community as a whole or separate communities like what I live in. Um, it just doesn't make any sense that if everybody is doing their part, whether you're married or not, in a relationship or not, if you're doing your part within the community, then you belong there. If you're a productive member of the community, then you belong there. And marriage is not everybody's ultimate goal. Some people are happily single and they want to remain that way. And I think it's unfair for people to think that single people are like we're demons or something. Like we don't get to participate because we aren't booed up. So I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about, but they really need to put that conversation to bed because it just doesn't make any sense to me to continue to argue on about people's personal choices. Those that want to get married, damn, and get over it. And the ones that don't, leave us alone because what?
Well, when he's talking about community, he's speaking of everyone
The
that goes
entire
in.
Black community, the entire thing.
Yes,
That's
He
what he's
said
talking
you
about.
fix it
Yeah.
when
And
yes.
one. Well, hold on, because he
but
said you fix it when one gender takes any accountability for their contribution to the problem. So again, it falls on men and women having a conversation and owning up to their part in the destruction of I guess the black relationships, the black community, and it all boils down to it takes two to make anything happen. It takes two to have a conversation. It takes two to make a business work because somebody has to be willing to buy something that somebody is selling. So it's easy to say that somebody has to take accountability, but the people who aren't taking accountability aren't the ones who are ever on this panel. And it's just that simple. Like I wholeheartedly take accountability when a relationship goes south because I know me and there's a certain level of things that I'm going to accept. And when I tell you from the door that this is something that I will not accept and you decide to test the waters, well, I am accountable when I tell you go to hell because I'm just not for it. Now,
but
if he chooses to take accountability for the fact that, well, I wanted to see if you was going to go for it, that's a whole nother story. Because, you know, a lot of times a man won't even admit, I was just trying to test the waters and, you know, see if you was really about what you said you were about.
But I don't understand how all that comes into play. If he's talking about the Black community in general, um, how does anyone think that we're all supposed to be in agreement, one with all things? And just because we have a difference of opinion does not mean that we can't coexist. You know, if there are men out there that wholeheartedly believe in being the head of the household and, you know, their wife being the homemaker, you can be we should all still be able to be part of the same community of people who don't want to live that way, men who believe that their wives are equal partners in the relationship and they stand side by side, along with the men who want to remain single, along with the women who want to remain single. I don't understand why there should be any discord between any of those four groups, because if we're all functioning members of the community, I don't understand how that's a problem. The only problem that I can see is when you want to get married and you can't find a mate for yourself. But I consider that a personal problem, not the community's problem, because it's something that you're doing. We can't, the other three factions of that community can't be the blame as to why, you know, you're not married, or the other three factions can't be to blame as to why you're not work. Should we come together and help our community? Yes, but this whole thing, I would just think that y'all would be tired of blaming Black women or Black men for the reason why you can't find a mate. You
Hold on,
know,
let me
rather than looking at yourself and figuring out why you can't find a mate. Why is it everybody's fault as to why men can't find a suitable woman? Why is it every woman's fault?
Because
Or
you
why
know
is
what?
it every man's
And,
fault because I
and
can't find a man, and
Right.
or you can't work? Why is it everybody's fault?
But so you know what it is?
And somebody was saying, you don't see white people doing that. They don't blame the whole damn community
Right.
for their fucking shortcomings. It's your fault, or it's the woman you
That
dealt
is
with,
so
or it's the
funny.
man you dealt with, or it's that. But every single time we get into these discussions, somebody comes on here and they make some comment that it's just the whole damn community's fault, that shit is fucked up. And why don't you
Right.
just take a real good hard look at yourself, and the questions or the blames that you put on everybody else, really ask your damn self, is it your negative attitude why everything around you, which happens to look like the whole community, is fucked up, instead of blaming the rest of us for
Right.
why shit is wrong?
You
And
know what
you
it
know,
is?
and I'm
They
not
need
gonna
to
lie
have
and say
they
that
need to
Black
have
people,
arranged marriages.
we got our hangups. I know we do, because I see it all the
Because they
time.
can't be trusted.
So
That's
I
why.
know we're not perfect, but I would just think that people would just get sick and tired of hearing that all Black men ain't shit, because all Black men ain't. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Is there a whole bunch of them that ain't shit? Hell yeah. But you can say the same thing about Black women, white women, Black men, yellow, purple, green, gold, whatever color you are. You find dysfunction in every community if you separate them by race. But we just seem to be on some really ill shit about Black women
That's
and
so
Black
funny.
men. And somebody put a posting on Facebook, and they was like, can't we just call a damn truce? Like,
I
ain't
put that
y'all
on
just
there.
really
I was
tired
like, can we
of
do
this
a
shit?
reset? Can we just
I'm
reset?
just saying that at some point, don't you just get tired of
For
complaining
real.
about why you ain't got a mate, and just,
Right.
you know, get your ass on out there and date
Hey,
and find you one,
try
and
it. Like,
stop picking the same type of woman or the same
same
type of
type of
man to
guy.
date,
That's what it
hoping
is for
that
us.
it's gonna fucking work, when the last broke ass person you dated, you didn't like them either, and you went out and found yourself another one. To me, that's
Or one
pathetic.
can't cook. Right.
I'm just saying, you know, I'm not hating on his comment, but damn, at some point you would
You are
just
on
think, you would
point,
just
Rebecca.
get
That is so
tired
funny.
of coming on here blaming Black men or Black women for
Right.
everything that's wrong in the damn world,
Because
because
it's not. We're not
it's
the problem.
not.
It's not
At
the
the end of the
problem.
day, it really is not. I would look real sad and pathetic if I said every black man was to blame because I don't have a man. That shit
Well,
is so tired and lame.
basically, whatever. First of all, anybody know, then that's when you're talking about absolutes. We know that it's not everybody is not to blame. The issue is people have to accept and take their own accountability as far as building communities and stuff like that. And they say these conversations, they're going to be courageous. There's no okay, let's stop talking about it, let's have a truce and let's get back together, because there's been a lot of hurt and pain. So we're not even at that state. i don't
We
I don't
could
have
be.
I don't have the answers, like I said
We
before, or
could
the
be though.
solutions.
I mean, but
So
really,
there
babe,
are solutions.
I'm
There
just
are
saying
solutions.
What are
if
the
if
solutions?
I
And we've been
punch,
The
going through the
solution. I'm
struggle
gonna
for
tell you.
years.
I'm
wait
gonna
a
tell you
minute
what the
though.
solutions are.
But if I punch you in the face,
You
and I'm
punch me in
just
my face,
saying,
you're gonna
just
get
come
punched
on,
right back in the face.
I'm just saying. But if I punch you in the face and I repeatedly do that, and then you finally decide I'm gonna hit her back. And I'm just like, oh, what was that for? And we decide, you know what? You hit me, I hit you. What do we need to do to get past that? My face still hurt, your
Because
face
the thing
still
is,
hurt,
they just gotta let it
but you tell
go.
me, you look at me in the face and
They
say,
have
if
to
you
let it
keep your
go.
hands to yourself, I'll keep my hands to myself, and we move through life,
That's
never
how.
having
Know
Let
hurt
what
it
the
each
issue
go.
is?
other
Know what
again.
the issue is?
Always
Know
want
what
to
the issue
hold
with
on
that?
to
Know
nonsense.
what the issue is with that? And I
I'm
say
jumping
this
in.
stuff, and I say it's a lot of parallels to what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh,
It's the
let's see.
mass, oh God, or whatever the case is, whatever you're saying. It's the masses of people around that stir the damn pot. So if
Yeah,
it's
but
just
while they're
between,
stirring the
it's just
pot, me and you
between,
could be making a
yeah,
meal.
if it's
You
just
could.
between you and I, and we keep it on that level, we could get through it. It's
No,
the other people
no.
that get
But
Since
involved,
if
when?
you
No,
whatever.
and me, if
Yeah,
that's
you and
not
me
it.
come to an
don't tell me
agreement,
it's it,
but
because
wait a
you
It ain't
don't
minute,
tell
it.
me what ain't
if
it.
you and me come to an
Listen,
agreement that
it
that's
still
how
ain't
we
it.
go move through life, and then you go tell her,
It
this
still
is
ain't it.
what we're doing, and
I
he
can't.
looks at his
Hello.
mate and says, you know what? This is
Woo.
what they're doing, and it looks good. And then they try it, and then they tell a friend, and they tell a friend, and they tell a friend. Eventually, we
I'm
can't
trying to
get
jump
all
in. I
9
can't jump
million of
in.
us cannot get together and solve the problem, but two people together can.
Woo.
And
Okay,
so
can I jump
instead
in?
of getting on blaming
Oh,
everybody, we could all five of us could sit here and say, today,
this is
what could I
funny.
do for you to make life better in the Black community? And he could tell me what it is he thinks he needs. I could decide whether or not that was manageable. He could ask me the same question. I could give him an answer. And now we're problem solving. Because up until this point, all it's been is you, me, you ain't shit, I ain't shit. And all I'm saying is I would just think that he would be tired of saying the same tired ass
You
shit
know what?
week after
No, they
week
don't get
after
tired.
week
Can I jump in?
You
Can
know
I
about
please
what? How
jump in? Because
about
they
this?
don't
the
get tired of
community.
saying the same thing. What I
How
find
about
out with
this?
men is that they will
It's
hold
not
on to
just
stuff
men
for
though.
eternity.
How about
It
this?
ain't
But
just
no,
men.
there's people. So that's what I'm trying to say to you.
Check it
That
out.
the number one thing is that you have to forgive and you have to let it go, woman, male or female, and not act like everything that happens in your life is so devastating. It's like there's some worse stuff that can happen in life. But if some things happen, just let it go and move forward and let it just leave it alone. But everybody wants to harbor on to things and not forgive. So the thing is, I saw Lorenzo say a comment like, if you're saying you got to pull a truce, then that means there's a problem. The problem lies as, can we just love one another? Can we just love and let it go? And allow
See, his
ourselves, and then the
attitude
fact
is
of the matter
so,
is
All
this,
right.
it's
like,
so
and then
shitty. It
and the
is
other
just so
part is this, is
incredibly
that you
shitty.
don't stop. It's like you don't stop. I almost lost my thought, train of thought, trying to jump in. The thing is, we have to stop. Like you said, first was love, loving each other. Like, just, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, that's number one. Is starting. You have to start there. You can't try, and then you got to stop blaming each other for that. There is that the other person is the reason. No, we just got to say, you know what, babe, that was funny. I mean, yeah, I didn't like it. Allow ourselves to heal, and then continued. We act so dramatic as if, oh my God, no, you didn't do this to me. Now I gotta leave. It doesn't always have to result to that if it's not, your life is not in danger. Let's say that.
I'm just
You
saying, he
should
just
forgive
sounds
that.
really, he just
Love and
sounds really
forgiveness.
negative. Instead of having something
Well,
negative
how
to
about
say, it
this?
would be nice to have something positive to say
How about
that,
this?
okay, if we recognize that there's
I
a
got a
problem, we've
solution.
all recognized this. What can we
I,
do to make it better
I
rather
got
than to keep talking about a statistic about
I
how
got a
fucked up
solution.
shit is?
I got a solution. How about we just go back to the topic? Because at the end of the day, my viewpoint of him is he's just a pot stirrer. He don't even date inside the community, but he always got some shit to say about what's
He
going on
sure
in
always
that
got some
community.
stuff to say.
Either you are 100% in
Yo, but he
or you're
won't come on. He
100%
won't
out.
come
You
on
can't
though.
be halfway in and halfway out. So he go
But he
sit
won't
there
show his
and
face.
and at the end of the day, we're talking about the way to a man's heart. I was taught that the way to a man's heart was through his stomach. As I got older, I learned that that varies from person to person.
It varies.
It varies
But
to
you can
person
tell
to
by the weight.
person because
Clothes for.
no, you can't always tell by the weight because my husband's not a big dude, but that nigga sure put some food away. Not a big dude, but he sure can put some food away.
Well, there's
So,
some skinny guys too. Yeah.
so you know, I've learned that it talks about. I mean, I've learned that it all varies according to the person because
I think weight gain too.
from my own experience, I've dated guys who loved when I cook. I've dated guys who just loved having general conversations and spending time with me, and it was never an issue about cooking. Like, it didn't matter who cooked. It was just like, more or less spending time together. And yeah, those
Lorenzo, won't you
situations,
just
I
come on the
think,
screen? Won't you come and talk to us?
nobody want to hear from him. He good. He can stay
Come and
good.
talk to us. I think that's coward moves when you don't come on. You just
That's
start
why I
staying in
say
the
he can
chat.
stay where he at. Like,
Where you
buddy,
at?
for
Show
that.
your face.
Personally, I don't care. I don't care who you date, and it really doesn't matter to me who you date. I'm just saying, it just seemed all the negativity is such a fucking downer when we really could be saying, what can I do for you? What can I do for my community? Let's have a starting point there and just move forward. To just keep beating a dead horse
That's what they're doing.
it just seems ridiculous to me. We last week
All
we
the time.
recognized that there was a problem, that there's toxicity out there on both sides of the fence. So what can I do for you? And you should be asking what you could do for me so that we can just move forward. And it's no slam
No,
against
because we can't be
Lorenzo because
transitional.
I
We
don't
can't
know
be
him.
about
I'm
what can
just
you do
simply
for me or what I can do for you. Although knowing what somebody else needs would help solve the problem, right? But being that, and I'm just referring back to what he said earlier, our community is too transactional because it's all about what can you do for me? How about what can we do for each other? It's still a transactional situation, but we're solving some problems. But hey, I don't know anything, I don't know anything,
I mean, that's just good
I
customer
just I just
service.
find it amusing
Every
that
single one of us works in an industry where we have to have good customer service skills, and all five
what?
of us sitting on this panel knows how to ask people, what can I do for you? Welcome. What can I do for you? And you
And it's
can
so
translate
easy.
that right over into your community. And I can ask any black man, what can I do for you to make you feel more welcome? And if I'm able to do it, then I'm able to do it. If I choose to do it, then I choose to do it. You can't be out here asking people crazy things, but as a
Nobody's
general
figured over your
community,
observation. I
we
just
should
want
be
your
able to ask each
observation came with
other.
some solutions, like some
I'm
actionable
baby
solutions.
boy, I'm not
That would
triggered,
actually be
and I've
more
already said
more
that I don't have
interesting when
anything
you
He's
against
so
you
participate.
funny.
You
personally.
You are
just
funny,
All of
Lorenzo.
y'all
I just
talking
need
at the
him to know
same
that I don't
time.
have anything against him personally. I'm just saying it would be nice if he posted a
solutions,
positive solution
something that could actually be
or
acted
something.
on.
And we already know there's a problem, Lorenzo. We have already identified this. What can we do
Right.
to make you feel better?
So
And
when you ask him to post the solution, um, Is it that easy to post a solution?
It really
Yeah,
is. If
I
everybody
think
gave their
if
idea,
you can
we
have a
would actually
dialogue without
work
finger
towards
pointing and
something.
blaming, that always helps. You know, if a single black man or a single black woman asks the question, what can I do to make myself more available? Of course, you're going to get a million answers, and there's only going to be so many that he or she will be willing to respond to, change, entertain, whatever the case may be. But if there's something that I can do within my community to make my whole community in general better, I would be willing to do that. Marriage might not be one of them, but if I
I
can
think
help
we
a
should
sister,
ignore
if I
him.
can help a sister get a job,
I
if I
mean,
can
I
help
was
a
already
brother
back on the
get
other
a
topic
job, I
because
would be willing
at
to
the end
do
of the
that. And
day,
I would think that that would be a
people that
positive,
like
that would be a
to,
positive contribution to my
I'm sorry,
community.
if you don't
All right,
mind
So
me.
yes, I do
let
think
me
it's that simple. If it's
let,
this easy to start an argument, it should be this easy to come up with a solution. And
Can
let
we
me.
can
I'm
we
just
be able
saying.
to jump in? Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
How
I'm
do you
sorry.
how do you build a home, or how do you maintain a home that has a bad foundation?
You start over.
And that's what's going to have to happen. That's why when I made the statement, when we were doing the toxic femininity post, I said anybody over the age of 30, I said women, but anybody, male or female over the age of 30, we don't have a say unless we are going to go back and start with the kids and explain to them where we erred. That's going to require self-reflection, genuine reflection, and accountability. And most of us don't have that in us.
No, listen,
Most of
I've
us,
done
but
that.
that don't
I
mean
have
that
done that.
all of
I've
us
gone to my
don't.
kids and I
because
have apologized to my kids. And I
No, no,
have
no,
Are
no,
you
no. Hold
said,
on,
I
hold
saying
on.
got,
that you don't?
I
Are
got a
you saying
question.
that you don't have the ability to change who you are and think differently because you're over 30?
No, 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 no.
right.
What I'm saying is us sitting here. The only way we can actually address what Lorenzo was saying is to go back and teach the youth and explain to them what we did wrong. But that's going to require us to be honest with ourselves, with each other, and tell them, look, this is how we messed up. This is why we are in the situation now where
And you don't think you can do that?
I'm not, no, no. I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm saying this is the only way. We have to destroy what
But
we
you said
know.
people over 30.
We the only way we can do that is we have to acknowledge that what we know as the black community needs to be destroyed right now. It has to be
Why
destroyed
does it have to be the black
So
because
hold
it's
on,
not
community?
no,
Because we're
no,
talking
functioning.
about the
I
One
black
got, I
thing,
got,
community.
I
the
got a
one thing,
really. I just need to know this because it's translating in my brain in one way. So I need to ask a clarifying question, right? Now, Herb, you own a house. If you found out that your house had a foundation problem, do you really mean that you would knock your whole house down just to fix the foundation, or would you pay somebody to lift your house up and fix the foundation? Because in all actuality, getting your house lifted and fixing the foundation would cost way less than knocking the entire house down and starting over from scratch. So I just need you to
Right.
clarify that for me.
I would leave that house. I wouldn't try and fix it.
Okay, I'm waiting to see. Right. Okay.
She asked a
Okay.
question, I answered. And see, and that's the problem. When somebody offers up a solution, we get somebody that mocks the solution because they don't agree with it.
Reason
Well,
why I
I'm
do
not
real
mocking
estate.
the
I'm
solution
not
because
mocking it.
I understand because of your mindset why you would feel that way. But on the flip side of that, there are several ways to fix that problem. Just like this, the only way you say the only way to fix this is for us to self-reflect and then to teach our children. That's one way, but that's not the only way because there are some of us that have ill thinking that have no children. So we have to fix ourselves. There are some of us that just have a different situation in our life. So I agree with the part about the self reflection and teaching children, but it's not the only way. And you don't have to leave your house. That is a choice. You can start over. Plenty of us have had bad habits all of our life, and we don't need to just implode on ourselves to fix it.
But
You
I
can.
think I'm laughing because most of the time people just stay right in it with the crack and the foundation's messed up.
That's what's happening. That's why I
hoping
laugh.
it'll
Like, no,
fix
you wouldn't even
itself,
move nowhere. You would just stay there.
hoping
and,
it would
and
fix itself.
exactly, and it never get fixed. And you sit. So that's why I laugh. Like, really, no,
So
that
I'm
you.
not,
But
but I'm not knocking your
I'm not
solution,
knocking his
because
decision.
you're right. This
Nothing
is how
is
these things, this is how things get fixed, because you come up with an idea, I come up with an idea, we try them both, or we compromise and mix them together and see if we come up
right.
with a better solution. So I'm not against your idea, but I do believe that there is another way. And different people have different methods to their madness of fixing a problem. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that that young man that was down there speaking, it just
Is
seemed
he a
like,
young man? Is he?
well, whatever, I don't know him, I
Anybody
can't
right
see his
there.
face,
Well,
so I can't judge him. What I'm saying is he said that we have to acknowledge that there's a problem, and I'm saying
We
we've
already know that.
acknowledged
It's
that.
not Black
We've
America. I
acknowledged
don't know
that
why
through
we say
several
that.
shows. So
I'm African American.
well, one of the things, whatever, when y'all say defer to say it's not Black America, we already know that it's a problem all throughout. But when
Right.
you look at each one of us, we're all Black. They're not worried about our situations. They're handling their business
Pretty much.
within. We tend to say, "Oh, well, white people do this or Asians do that. Let's stop
Right.
worrying about
If
that.
they
We
all
have
went
to
and jumped
deal.
off a bridge, will we go jump behind them? Hell nah.
Yeah,
We
we
gonna
have
go
to
find
deal
a
with
different
in
way to
house.
feel we
We have
need
to
this
deal
out.
with
It
in
doesn't
house.
involve killing ourselves.
See,
So
but
that's
that's what
Just let me put this out there. Believe it or not, they are dealing with the same issues that we are. We just don't hear it, or certain people don't hear about it because you're not in those circles. I'm going to mention two names: Tom Likas and Rollo Tomasi. Go check them out on Facebook. I'm sorry, on YouTube, and hear the stuff that they discuss. Trust me, this is not just a Black issue.
Right.
That's why I always talk about
I believe
Western
that.
culture.
I believe that, but I agree with him. We're all Black, so we're talking about our community, and I think we have problems that are exclusive to us. And
I think we need to change the mindset about
you
marriage.
know, I
I
love
got
Black
broke up
men. I
last time.
absolutely adore Black men, and I would be remiss to again to blame them for everything that is going wrong in the community. You always have some sour grapes, on the scene that want to ruin it for everybody else. But again, after last week's conversation, especially when we acknowledge that there's a problem and we pose a solution, we directly ask, what could we do as women, as Black women, to make a man feel more, loved and accepted and worthy, whatever the fuck it is he's looking for. And nobody had a solution. And I'm just to the point where I'm just gonna call it what it is. Stop whining, like a little fucking baby, week after week, day after day, because you can't get what you want out of life, but it's everybody else's fault, but
Right.
yours.
Right.
Everybody's fucking fault but yours. And to make those little,
That's funny.
raggedy ass comments down there in the comment about, we making everything personal. Of course it's fucking personal. We're part of the fucking community. We're part of the people that you're talking about. We're part of the people that you're blaming for all your fucking mishaps in life. So yeah, I take it personally, and I don't
You know
know you,
what?
but fuck
Let
you.
me jump
And
in. You,
I'm
Rebecca, you
just
funny.
saying, like,
Because you was on
damn,
the roll and then you switched
let's
up
solve
on
the
me.
equation, or just not fucking solve
Funny.
it at all. Just,
We get that. That's the one thing we get. It's
you out here
crazy.
bitching more than women do, and damn, but you always up on a high horse talking about, men this,
She
men
is
that, and it
funny.
just, shut the fuck up already about it. And
She
just
is
damn.
funny. You switched
so
up, yo.
so
I'm just
You switched
saying,
up,
so
Rebecca. I'm sorry.
but
so
don't y'all get tired of hearing this bullshit over and over
It's a
again about
ridiculous stuff, yo. We talk about
how
it
you're
so
all.
to blame,
basically
how
so
I'm to
basically
blame,
so
but you
basically
just don't want to come up with a fucking solution to the problem. You don't want to get past blaming somebody
Ooh,
for
that's
why
funny.
you're fucking miserable in life.
I'm sorry.
Shit, go
Maybe I'm
suck a
tired,
dick,
so I'm silly
something.
today.
Just
But
get laid.
yo,
I'm fixing
no,
to.
no.
I'm
This is the
just,
thing.
Jesus
They
Christ,
going.
just
Some men are just going straight to other men. So they talk about. So I don't know. Some men are just going to other men
go where
and
you
talking
want to. I
about
don't hate
it's
on that.
always the woman.
I don't hate on
We,
that. Do what
but
you
we're the
want to
same
do,
ones.
but just
But this is
damn.
what I said to them. We're the same ones that help produce who they are as men. And a lot of them have
I'm not
already.
taking the blame for that
I was
shit.
about to say, I'm not taking that charge. I'm sorry.
not
I'm
taking
saying
the
black
blame for
women
that.
being a
I
black
am not
woman.
taking the
Their
charge
mother
for
was
a
black.
Kiss
women
my
that's
ass on
Pastor
going
that one. I'm
married.
not
now
taking
because some
the
other
blame
woman
for
did
that
them
shit.
wrong. I'm not
Yeah.
taking the charge for that
They
one.
gotta
This
go
is what I
back to
wanted to
their
say. So
parents.
now the thing is that we do
Not
know
taking the charge for
that
that.
they like other, we say white folks usually want us not to be united. Okay. Not all white folks, but there is a majority of them that do not want black folks to be united because we're stronger together. Y'all don't think at all that they're influencing your thought process about how women are, and that's why you can't
Ain't
come together with
influencing
us
mine.
because in y'all subliminal, you really think we're not worth it, and we're more than worth it. We're worth the loyalty, and we're worth the partnership, and we're worth the family. And the fact of the matter, I feel like that's why I keep saying, get out. That movie was created for a reason. Get out, because y'all, there's a thing in your brain planted by white folks that make you hate black women for you to continuously, on a day-to-day basis, talk about how much we ain't worthy of being married to. Crazy. So
Yeah.
think about that.
I'm not. White people don't influence me like that.
I'm talking about black. I'm talking about
They
black
don't
men.
influence me to hate my own people or to blame my own people for.
There is that subliminally.
Maybe so. And he said we sound stupid. No, we don't sound stupid. Your
No, he
comments sound
sounds.
stupid, but that's okay too, because you're entitled to them. It would be nice if you just came up with a real solution, or at
He
least
said
one
we sound
solution.
stupid. Like, really,
Yeah.
dude?
I mean,
The
he
one that
entitled to
hides
his
behind the
opinion, but
curtain.
it is, fuck him too. So
Why do we have to get to this point when people
because
have
people
their?
don't want to talk about real solutions. It's so easy to be mad and
Because I don't.
angry and pitiful and
I mean,
woeful
I'm seeing
and all the rest of that shit,
this.
because it takes hard work to
This is
solve
one
a
of
fucking
those
problem.
interesting things. I'm gonna need Lorenzo to go back and do his research and watch previous shows, and then he can answer that question that he just posted himself. Because there's too many instances of that shit going on to
All
even
the
put
time.
that on and cut and paste it. Go back and watch the damn videos and
Then they
educate,
try to.
and then you can see what it is that we are talking about. See, the problem is you're just coming into watching the show, so you don't
Right.
know about the months and months of things that we have talked about before now.
Right.
I'm just tired of talking about it.
Because for me,
Literally.
it ain't a war. Whatever
It's always somebody
you.
cutting their
with
toenails.
Somebody wanted to be a war, and go fight with yourself. Literally, just go stand in the mirror and talk to yourself, because we've asked this dozens of times. What can we do?
Nothing.
What can we do?
So
And
who you?
I've never heard a black
Keep
man yet
praying.
say, what can I do? What
Just
can
keep
I do
praying.
about the behavior of the black man to make a black woman feel more comfortable, to make her want to be led? Not that I want to be, so don't let
I
me
wouldn't
mistake
mind being
that. But
I would
some
be
women
led.
do.
They're the
But
right
just
one.
what can we do to coincide so that we
So
can be a whole community, and people dodge that shit?
So one of the things is when we were talking about the toxic femininity, the men didn't really get a chance to speak like that. So you never really heard the feedback. Do y'all recall that?
I recall asking what we could do.
Can I speak?
And I recall y'all saying you didn't know. I recall that.
The reason why you say we don't know, because we know that the tension between us. If you read the post throughout the week, a couple brothers is always saying this and that, and it's always some rebuttal. When the
Alim
men
and
speak,
Raheem, say their names.
I don't have to say their names because it's more than them. It's more than
Since
them.
when do you let tension keep you from speaking?
Well, since when I let tension let me speak it,
Keep
stop
you
me from
from
speaking.
speaking.
It don't.
Then speak, brother.
It
Speak.
don't. It don't.
What can we
But
do? What can we do?
listen, Just listen. Just hear them. Just hear people out. Just hear them out.
Speak.
Just hear them out.
I'm listening. Speak.
I'm not saying I'm the one. I just
No,
sit back.
that's his answer.
There.
That's his answer. His speak. I'm sorry. Hi, everybody.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh
Um,
at that.
so I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm thinking that when he said you can just listen, that's the answer to the question. They want us to just listen. And I don't think that there's anybody that has a problem with that. My consciousness goes back to a post months and months ago where men was saying that they didn't want to listen to us. They wanted us to get to the point and all of that stuff. And so now a solution is that we need to listen. I can do that. I think everybody can do that. But last week when we spoke, we absolutely asked over and over again what we could do. And it's not that you didn't get a chance to speak, is that there didn't seem to be an answer to the question. And the reason that we say that you didn't know is because that was the answer that you gave
I know
eventually,
what I said.
that you just didn't know what could be done.
I know what I
Her
said.
answer was there was nothing that we could do. And so once we're told that there's nothing that we can do, well then isn't it time to move on to the next topic?
Move on to the next. What would the next topic be?
Whatever it is that the next topic is. What I'm saying is, if you came to a woman, if you
Because
came to your woman and you asked him, and you asked her, what could you do if she was mad at you, and you guys were arguing back and forth, and you said, okay, what is it that I can do? Go from there. Once she says that there's nothing you can do to make her happy, what would your response be to that?
yeah, prime example, whatever. I gave some of the things, and we talked about this whole subject about is food or meal the key to the man's stomach the key to their heart. And I post other little things, and everything that was posted, I just sat back. I just put the stuff out there, and other people. And one guy responded like, "Damn, everything that's put out there." Women, when they responded, was kind of had resistance toward it. Like, no, unless it's reciprocated. But sometimes it's just a matter of saying, "All right, let me see what they're gonna say. Let me see what they're gonna say. What's the key to their heart?" Sometimes you can respond back, but everything seemed like to be a battle. So I think that's what some of these brothers are saying. It's always a battle. It's
But
always a battle.
you do realize
I think
that I wouldn't
that we feel the
necessarily
same way
call it a
too.
battle, but you do realize that if you're talking to
No,
three
it's a
different
battle.
women and you pose one question, that there is a chance you're going to get three different answers,
Well, they
and
were
then
all
you
pretty
get
much
to
the same.
then each black man or black woman gets to move towards the answer that moves them. So it's when you're reading it, it can sound like a battle, but really what you're just reading is opinions until people just start arguing. You know what I'm saying? If I say I need, a tall man, and two of y'all is short and one of y'all is tall, and you stand up, I'm moving this way, it doesn't mean that there has to be a fight with the two short ones. And if I keep putting the things that I need to make me happy out there, depending on who stands up or raises their hand, I'm going to gravitate over here. It doesn't make it a battle, but when you pose a general question and you get 1,000 answers, well, of course you're gonna get that. But that is, for somebody in there, they might find a solution to their problem. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always have to be a knockdown, drag out fight to find a
Well,
solution.
and that's the thing. And I wonder why that it always is. It's always
I guess it's
I
how
mean, the
you
reason
read
that
it.
it always is because everyone wants their opinion
yeah.
to be the opinion. That's
The
not
right
something
one.
that the mark is cornered by men or women, because you have to have more than one person to fight. One person can't just come in there doing their Cuba Gooden all by
You only
themselves.
you only
Like
can fight.
that you
You only
have to
can fight
have
if
more than
somebody's
one
in there willing to
person.
fight with you. So
True that.
Exactly.
True that.
Exactly. So if any person that's wondering why is it always a fight, sometimes, like I always say, you have to check yourself. It doesn't have to be a fight if you don't engage. Even if somebody else is looking for a fight, you don't got to step up and lace your gloves up.
Mm.
You can just take their opinion and go, or not take their opinion and go. But like you said, a fight only happens when it's somebody that's willing to lace them gloves up with you.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
the
why
only
it
way you're
comes
gonna
to it,
fight.
because it's always somebody to lace up them gloves.
Listen,
He
I
said
didn't
not only listen,
feel like
listen
I
to
didn't want to answer that
understand, not
question.
to
I
defend
didn't
or
want
fight.
to.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, what to me, what that means, to me, what that could mean, because I mean, I can do that. Anybody can do that. But what it means to me when people say it, not just him, but even when women say it, what they really mean is listen and agree with me and don't say anything back. So that's one thing where you can't control what somebody else is going to do at what you say. Like Herb has said it a million times, that you can't control somebody else's reaction to you when you put something out there. So for me, that's just, and that's when anybody says it. So that's why I didn't, address it. But, yeah, sometimes it's, I don't like to fight. I like to be, to me, I didn't want to answer that question because I feel like a woman can't answer the question of whether the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Only a man can really answer that question for me, because each man is different. Some
well,
men don't give a damn if you cook. Some men would rather
well,
do the cooking.
any
So,
subject matter we put out there is
that's
not, again, there's no absolutes, so it's just
no,
a basis of
it's not.
conversation, or people saying something, putting their perspectives out there, and then you say, oh, okay, I can see where they coming from, or I understand where they coming from. So there's not going to be that, like, okay, it's a this is it, this is the final thing, it's locked in, this is the response. We already know that to begin with.
I don't think that's what I'm looking for. What I'm saying, and I
Well,
don't know if
part
you
of
were
the
addressing what
problem
I was saying, but
is,
what I'm saying is that for me, when it comes to a question of how to get to a man's heart, the best person or specimen to answer that question for me is a man, especially if men are claiming that we have it all
Well,
wrong. So in
what I
some
well,
want,
questions, I feel like we need to be quiet and listen and just let them say what it is that they want. That's all I'm saying. I know this is going to get opinions from everybody. I'm just speaking for me and why I didn't respond on that particular post, because you could cook for a fofo all day and they love you and still treat you dirty. I mean, so are we trying to get to his heart? Are we trying to get to his compassion? Are we trying to get to his respect? So you could be doing everything that a person wants. You could do everything that a woman wants, and she can still go somewhere and cheat or do some dirty shit. So,
so,
the way
so
to a person's
basic.
heart, I don't know.
that
well,
was just
so,
oh, sorry, David. I
so,
know you've been trying to jump in too, but
so,
oh,
part of the problem with anything in life is that you have to be willing to give what it is you want to receive. Listening and listening with an understanding is a skill. And because your skills are dull, you're not able to do so. Y'all are going to have to really excuse me tonight because I'm struggling. However, listening is a skill. So the solution to any problem cannot be to throw the whole thing away and to start over. Because when you think, okay, so if the black women stop having children and black men procreate with other people, at the end of the day, what do you think is going to happen? There will be no more black race.
no,
So it is
they're gonna still have
it
black
is
babies.
highly it is
No,
highly
my God, she did it.
impossible
It's gonna be
to
black.
stop and start over again. So the solution is to fix whatever the problem is. They talked about the house and how if the house has a crack in the foundation, what would you do? Well, the solution is to not allow the crack to come. When the nick is first there, you address the nick. So when you fix the problem when it's a small problem, it doesn't have to become a large problem. Listening and listening to understand, that's a skill. You can't demand what you can't give. It just doesn't work. And that's part of the problem. If
Oh, so
nobody
you're
has
okay.
solution, I'm not finished. So, so if nobody has solutions, then basically it's just a returning circle. It's gonna go in a circle. no solutions. When Black women or whoever asks directly, what is it that we can do? Everyone said nothing. There is nothing you can do. So if there is nothing we can do, why are we talking about this rather than food? And the answer to the question about the food is no. Food is not always the way to a man's heart. There are many women who cannot cook, who are in committed relationships, and the guy
Listen,
does the cooking. There are
listen.
men who can't fix things, but the woman they're with can fix everything. So
We already
you know
know.
what I'm saying?
We already knew that answer when it was proposed that it wasn't going to be 100%. So that's just stuff to throw out to have a conversation. I wish people would stop saying, "Oh, it's locked in." They only mean one thing. No, it's never going to be 100% guaranteed with any of these questions. It's just for dialogue purposes. People, please
And
understand that.
We know that, but if
that's
We're
what
having a
everybody
Not
got
everybody
dialogue.
on
don't
What
know
is
here,
what
that.
are we
Not
upset
everybody
about? We're
don't know that,
having a
baby. By the way they
dialogue.
respond. By the
but
way
We
they
we're
all know
but
that.
respond.
they
We're
respond the
having the
way that they
dialogue.
do, Dave, is because you're asking for an opinion.
We're
So if everybody got on here and
Jesus.
simply said yes or no, this conversation would be over in less than 30 seconds. So when people say no, it's not the way to a man's heart. This may be, it's just an opinion. We know it's not absolute. We know
But
that.
no, we know that. But may
We
I say
know
this
that.
real quick? I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I was agreeing with you, but it's funny. Um, just real quick to bring back up and being able to move on. It's like you said, understanding is listening. Listening is understand, right? Listen to understand. And the gentleman said that too. And Saraya was saying how we got to listen to what the guys want, right? So when you're giving a guy all you have and what they're asking you for, and it's still not enough, what do you do then? Because
Then
you're
you're not happy. You
Right,
need
that's
to
what you do.
at that
so the
point,
question.
you need to reassess what you want. It can't be about what he wants anymore. If you're giving all that he's telling you, if you're asking him what he wants, he told you what he wants. You've given him what he said he wanted,
Right.
and
So
it's
reason
still never enough. That's somebody that's going to have you jumping through hoops. They're never
so
going to be satisfied.
that's what I'm trying to get to. For the most part, when we do meet somebody, we have, like you said, we kind of always got to kind of check ourselves. So we meet someone and it didn't work. A lot of times we internalize it and cause ourselves to be all in array because like, oh man, because it didn't work for whatever reason. Now, when you get to the next person and you try to be who you're supposed to be for that person and then it doesn't work, there's going to be a time now, like, and I believe Rebecca said it earlier, you have to reflect to yourself, why is it not working? And if it's not working, to understand what a man wants or even what a woman wants, how can we begin helping each other to understand better? You understand what I'm saying?
Understand what you
I'll
want.
tell you why it's
Just
not
like she
working.
said, understand
Oh,
what you
right.
want.
No, no,
And
When
that's
you
no.
what, and that's what,
Hold
understand
on.
and
what
that's
you
what
want,
Scorpio T said. That's why I wanted to
you'll
go back to
stop
that.
doing that.
You're right, because she said if you're not, and that was so, and I like what she said. If you're not, if it's not in you, how can you? How can it come from someone else to give it to you if you don't have it yourself? Do you get what I'm saying?
exactly.
That was so profound that you said that. So now
She
thinking
keeps saying
about
over and over
Yeah.
again, do your damn shadow work. Know what you
You
want. Going
have
into a
to.
relationship not knowing what
that was
you
profound
want
to me. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
tends to fail because you're so busy being focused on what somebody else wants that you
What
forget
they
all by
want.
yourself. And 10 years into a marriage, you're fucking miserable because
Right.
you done got left the fuck out. So she says it over and over and over again. Do your damn shadow work. Dave says over and over and over again, know your fucking personnel. And I can't help but to agree with that. All
Yeah.
these the most of the people on here
Come on,
complaining about how
Lorenzo.
fucked up shit is
Yeah.
because they're not willing to recognize their own shortcomings or what it is the fuck they want, out of life. So they just gonna blame the whole fucking lot of us because your shit is fucked up. And again, fuck you, because do your fucking shadow work. The rest of
Right.
us are.
You're absolutely
She
right.
says repeatedly, she has gotten on here repeatedly and talked about her own fucking shortcomings and the type of woman, the type of personality she used to have versus what she has
Right.
now. And all these things, we all have gotten on here talking about personal shortcomings in our life and things that we've done, and we keep repeatedly hearing the same thing. It's still your fucking fault. Well, at some point, my guy, you have got to decide that maybe I'm just fucked up and I'm seeing the world through some fucked up rose-colored lenses, and maybe I need to take them shits off, wipe my eyes, and recognize that maybe it's just me and not everybody else. And get your shit
It's
together,
like,
and then
but
maybe you can
listen,
come back and join the conversation,
Rebecca,
and you
he
can
has
reflect on the change
he
that
has
you've made, the
found
growth that you had in the gray area, and this is where, and now I'm willing to listen, now I'm willing to put in the work, and maybe I'll get myself a high quality female or a high quality man. So, you know,
well, he has
my
found his
final thought to all of
solution.
them
He no
is really,
longer,
it's true, it's
Rebecca,
fuck y'all.
he no longer
Fuck all of
dates
y'all.
in the Black community, so he has found his solution, which is yet again why I say, why are we having this conversation with you? We were talking, this conversation was supposed to be about cooking. How did it morph into a black man, white man, or black
And
woman,
fuck a
black
meal.
man thing? Cooking
Well,
is
it went into,
universal,
it
so
went into,
Yeah,
that has
people gonna
absolutely
eat.
nothing to do. That has absolutely nothing to do with this conversation, which is why I said, why are we even addressing him? He won't come on the panel. He won't come on here and stand and let us have a dialogue with him. So you know what else? Two pigs in a bucket. You know the rest of it. Now we're going to move on,
I don't know
and
the
we're going to
rest of
talk
it. I don't
about
know the rest
cooking.
of it.
Bucket.
I don't know the
Two pigs
rest
in a
of it,
fucking
ma'am.
bucket.
Two
What's the
kids
rest
in a
of it?
bucket.
Two pigs in a bucket. What?
2 tears in a bucket.
Two pigs in a bucket. Bucket.
Tears
I
in a
never know.
bucket.
I didn't know it was two pigs in the bucket.
It's 2
I,
pigs in
I'm
a
I
I'm
thought it
bucket.
was
just
two
saying,
tiers.
cause
I
Yeah.
thought it was two
Nope.
tiers.
I don't care what
I
you
mean,
throw
I
in the
guess it's
bucket.
whatever
Don't
Who
you
throw
the
want to
hell
make
want
it.
pigs,
pigs
We
in a
deer.
bucket?
You
Yeah.
can throw some sausage,
you don't have to
bacon,
agree
cheese.
with
I don't
everything
care.
that we say, and you don't even have to like everything that we say. But when we
Right.
keep trying to come up with positive solutions to negative situations, and you continue to finger point, at some point, I would think you would just go stand in the mirror and look at yourself.
Yep, my mama used to tell us everybody else can't be the problem, it's you. If you
Thank
have a
you.
problem everywhere you go, it is not everyone, it is you. And
every
therefore,
Y'all
woman get
do
fix
jealous.
yourself.
realize, y'all do
Fix
realize,
yourself.
L- Lorenzo have y'all heads on a shrivel like
He ain't got
He ain't got
my
mine on a swivel.
he got it.
I would like for him to come on. He talk about where's the
He
link?
doesn't
The
have
link
he
has been
doesn't
sent
have
twice.
Mm.
Ain't shit
listen,
swiveling
he
over
doesn't
here.
have
I'm
my
just
head.
saying you do an
He
awful lot
doesn't
of
have
He
my
ain't
fucking
head
trying to
on
work
come
his
on.
arm.
for
Right.
somebody that
Do
don't wanna.
a whole bunch of, typing a bunch of shit. Like, I
But
have
He
come
yet
want
to
to get the
hear,
on, Lola.
smoke.
I have yet to hear an actionable solution, because just saying that each gender needs to accept accountability, we have already established that. Next,
Y'all already know. Y'all already
we
know
already
there
said,
is no damn
that's
solution.
what I'm saying.
There
He
is
needs
no
to
damn
go back
solution.
and watch what
There's
happened before, because we
always
have
a
already
solution.
established what he said.
There is
No,
no
Like,
solution.
no.
we already came to
Always a
that
The
solution.
solution,
There was another one.
There's
Like,
always a solution if you look to find it. And
exactly.
if it's not a solution, then you should be looking to create a solution. But there's always
the
a solution,
solution is
because if we're
between
saying that it doesn't
probably a
have to be a war
smaller,
between men and women, then there has to be a solution.
individual thing between a couple or whatever. But as you look at the whole, what's the
A whole of
solution?
what?
The whole community.
The
Well, I
masses
mean,
of
I agree
people.
with you
Yeah.
there. I agree with you there because
Go sit on a couch somewhere.
you're not
Move.
ever going to get
That's how
everybody
he
on the
his
same
camera.
accord. That's called being a cyborg. Everybody's not going to think the same. So opinions are going to vary about what to do, but there is a very clear market of right and wrong in how you treat people.
Did he? He called somebody a broke a
Very
Dr.
clear. That's not
Phil.
subjective.
He is funny.
That's not subjective.
That is
So,
funny.
it's
I
just what
think
it
it's
is.
funny. I
There's
think
always
it's
a solution if
funny.
you're looking for one. And solutions are
Sharia,
individual
I
too.
think it's funny that he actually thinks that, he has this game plan of triggering everybody, and he thinks that he's triggered everyone
I
because
think it's
people are
working.
responding
I think
to
it's working.
No,
And
it's not.
people are
not at
Just
all.
responding.
just because we
Not
have
at all.
comments doesn't mean that he's triggered anything,
we're having
because
dialogue.
Exactly. We're having dialogue. I mean,
Why everything has to be
because see,
pinned
here's one thing: people get upset when we come up here and we just talk amongst ourselves, and we never include anybody in the comments in the conversation. So now that we're including somebody from the comments in the conversation, we're triggered. Which one is it? Either we're going to incorporate the people who are commenting in the comments, or we're going to go back to just talking amongst ourselves, and either they learn something or they don't.
Well, the thing that
That's
I think is funny about it is that there are so many assumptions always being made 100% of the time. It's an assumption to think that people are triggered just because they respond. Isn't the point of a dialogue is to actually dialogue? Isn't the point of the conversation to actually converse? So don't take it as, but that just,
It's the way you
when you
respond.
have that type of, when you have that type of mentality,
I mean, I ain't
there is
cursing
no
nobody else,
having
so
a
I'm pretty sure I ain't
conversation.
triggered.
There is no
You ain't cuss
conversation. I know
nobody
I'm
out.
not either.
I ain't cussed nobody else. I know for a fact I ain't triggered.
Facts, me either.
I mean, I
It
just
is not
simply
true.
don't give a shit. I'm not triggered, but
Exactly.
if you want to come up with
So
a
I think
solution,
then
I
the
ain't mad
solution.
at
So
that.
listen, then
Well,
then it
here's what
sounds
we
like
could
the
do.
solution is
Here's
just
what we
ignore
could do.
Lorenzo's
From
comment.
now on, when
Thank
he
you.
As
comments,
long
we
as
can
that's
That
just
the,
right
ignore
so
there,
that
his
what
then
you
we
comments.
just
don't,
said.
we're
Yeah,
not
that.
triggered.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Know
because if
what
we
y'all need to
respond,
do?
we're
What y'all
triggered.
need
If we
to do?
don't
Apparently
respond,
he's
that's
Know
triggered.
what
He's
y'all
everybody's
need to
down in
triggered.
the
do?
So,
comments cussing. See,
we
he
got it.
just
Yeah,
made
we got
this
it.
You about to
personal.
tell us we
He
need
done
counseling?
commented, Dave, get
No,
your people together.
I ain't
In the
even doing.
comments cussing and stuff.
I ain't even going into that segment. Y'all need to check out, as they keep saying, that YouTube, that manosphere spear type of
Why?
setting. Go over there.
Why?
I have.
Why?
That's
Why?
why I know.
Why?
Because
I
here's
do.
the
No,
thing
really.
Y'all
about
don't
the
want to.
manosphere. That's
Why
only
do we need
that is
No, I
to?
don't.
literally only the musings of a handful of men. Not all
I
men
don't.
feel that way.
Of course they don't.
I
Then
don't.
why do we
Hey,
I
need
don't
to
Dave,
have an
get
read
your
interest
that?
in
people
Why do we
together.
need
Because
to
So
it's
why
read
do
different
I
that?
need
When
to?
opinions.
I'm
they
reading.
It's
call
So
different
people
Well, no,
names,
opinions.
no, see, I'm choosing to focus on the ones that are for me. The ones that are not for me, I don't need to hear from you. That has nothing to do with me. You can keep that over here.
no.
You keep that over
This is what I'm
there.
reading. I'm reading this book, so it's a very interesting read, and so yeah,
Listen, we
I'm
about to do our
good.
closing
I don't
comments.
want to go
My
there.
boys is getting their ass kicked, and I need to cheerlead from them from behind the scenes. We about to end this, whatever,
Why do you need
right
to
now.
cheerlead for them? Why do
hey,
you need
Dave,
to
my
cheerlead?
boys did well
No,
yesterday.
please
They
don't. Please
kicked
don't.
butt
Because he
yesterday.
needs to. They need to.
Why do you need to cheerlead for them?
What are you talking about? I'm talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. That's what I'm
Oh,
talking
You
about.
okay.
talking about Philly? That's her
Yeah,
team.
Okay.
yeah.
But
All
Yeah,
I
right.
Philly,
really
that's
feel
my
like
boy.
him giving his 100%. You know, you put it out there in the universe, and that'll turn it around. That's what this is.
He
Show
said
them
I've
that
been
book,
cursing
Slayer.
for 10 minutes. I can curse for 10 minutes more. It ain't
Oh,
no
we know that.
It ain't nothing but a thing. It ain't nothing but a thing.
All right.
You've been talking nonsense for 30, so
Oh
I
my
mean
gosh.
I ain't caught up yet. So
Lorenzo, request all of them
We have
friends.
caught up
Request them.
because we're ignoring
Please,
Lorenzo's
Friend request
question.
them.
he's already been
friend
saying
request
he
too.
didn't show up, so he'll be all right.
And you know what? I'm
I
gonna
don't
reach
need
out to
to know that.
Lorenzo. So the next thing, he's gonna be on this panel. He's gonna be
And
on this panel. I'm
He
and
just
too
saying.
scared. He too
Awesome.
scared.
We won't
He
hold
too
our breath.
scared.
We won't hold our breath.
Hey, Dave,
He
you
ain't
know how
coming
you
on.
always say you want the smoke on this panel? He's
Yeah.
already in the comments cussing and calling people names. So I don't think that this is the panel for him to come on because he might not want that smoke. I'm just saying.
He said the link didn't work. Not yet. Okay, try it now. Give him a new link. But I
Let's
want
see
to
if
say
stop
my
stirring the pot.
Monday,
because
Monday, Lorenzo, Monday.
he ain't ready. And that's probably a catfish. That's probably not his picture. That's why he ain't on it. It's catfish.
again. Just
All right. Closing comments. Closing comments.
We got too much catfish going around.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
Too much.
Anybody who want to go
If
first?
at first you don't succeed, try and try again. So that's my statement along with love thy neighbor as I love thyself. I believe that is the solution. If you don't succeed the first time, that's okay. Keep trying. Don't never give up. And then secondly, if you love, that causes forgiveness. And then forgiveness causes a good turnaround, but better togetherness. So that could be, I know I'm being corny, but that is one of the ways that you could try helping bringing people back together, communities together.
Who's
That's
next?
all. And that's not no subliminals. That ain't no subliminals. I'm just saying that. I'm just talking in general.
You know what I say? To check yourself more than you try to check other people, because that's where real change comes from. Fair exchange is no robbery. So stop being thieves in this motherfucker, expecting something for nothing, or just expecting maximum results from your bare minimum effort. And just, karma's a bitch. It comes around at some point. If you become solution driven, then your problems start to disappear.
Okay.
So
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And if you don't want to be a part of the community, then just get to see your way out, and don't let the door hit you in the ass. And bon voyage, sayonara, auf wiedersehen, and you know me, keep your wholeheartedly raggedy ass over there, because we are doing good over here. I just can't say
And
that enough.
I'm just gonna piggyback that and say 2 pigs in a bucket. That's it.
Two pigs in the bucket. All right. Okay. He said at least the woman in the pink tried to keep it balanced. Okay. All right. Who else?
Oh man, that just spoke
so
volumes.
it's on you.
I'm
You're the
gonna leave
last
that one
one.
alone. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I know what that meant. We'll talk about that later.
All right. For me, as always, we start off in one direction. and, and to be honest, I would hope that there would be a solution, but I know it's always going to be a lot of back and forth. And I always say the solution always starts in your home with the people that you live with, and then hopefully that could filter out to everything. There's no removing people of the community if they're in the community. It is what it is. There's nowhere for you to go. What are you going to do? So we have to be civil and try to get along, make things happen. And there's going to be some contentious times like we have with these conversations. One way or other, it don't make or break me. I put stuff out there. I know there's no absolutes, and I look for dialogue, and it's always interesting. And what's crazy about it is it always leads to other broadcasts, and other people use some of the stuff on here to create their own broadcast. So it's a wide range of conversations going on. We got a long way to go, people. We already know that. We know that to be sure. Just got to keep pushing at it. Only way we could do it is keep conversing. One of these shows, it's going to be kumbaya or whatever, and everything's going to be perfect. Everybody going to get along. I don't know when that's going to
Because we're
happen.
gonna leave piles of bread outside.
But we're going to keep pushing towards it. That's all I could say. We out, people, because you know what? Remember I said, we had 20, 30. I got like 200, 300 some kids in the building now, and they starting to act up. I ain't been telling y'all. I done had a couple mediations. I done had a couple mediations in the office now.
I'm free. I don't have titles no more.
Yeah. Oh, you done? Y'all done for the year?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I don't see
Enjoy
nobody
your summer.
until August.
Yeah, we still going on to June like 22nd. And I get an email. Could you meet with such and such? Could you have a mediation? I don't mind, but the problem is it's been boys going at. I'm like, damn, I need to
You the one
smoke
that
from the
said you
women.
wanted all this smoke. You didn't
No,
want
it ain't the smoke with the boys. The girls is the one that create the smoke. Y'all know how y'all do it. how y'all do it.
We're
And
not
it,
gonna
it
do
No.
that.
yeah.
We're not
You
gonna
So
just
do
said
that.
you wanted to smoke.
so the
So
boys
You
don't
didn't say
really
smoke.
they don't really
You just said
create
you
the
wanted
smoke.
to
came
smoke,
from.
and so you
So
got
now you getting what you asked for. I
No,
told
they're
you
not
they
create.
creating.
about it.
It's kind of dry with the
Are they
boys.
fighting over boys? Are they fighting over boys? What are they fighting over?
But the reason why they
What are the
fighting
girls
over?
fighting over?
No, the girls. I haven't had mediations with girls yet. I had with boys so far.
So you've had mediations with
Yeah.
guys?
What they fighting over? Freaking video games. Talking junk over video games.
And they
So
say we the ones that don't know how to act.
Don't none of them damn kids know how to act.
Yeah,
Talking
exactly.
about
so
don't none of them know how to act.
with
So I
that
mean,
said, I appreciate you all for joining. Lorenzo, I'm gonna call Lorenzo bluff. He's gonna be on here Monday. I'm gonna send you the link. Lorenzo gonna come on. He gonna let y'all know he ain't playing games with y'all. Now, I'm sorry, Lorenzo, for putting you out there like that. It was just a little challenge to get you
we're
going.
just all so
Yeah,
scared.
right.
So we're gonna
Don't
see how this pan out.
load over.
But thank you, ladies, for coming on, giving your insight. And please keep cooking. Keep cooking. That's everything. It's so much intimacy in that and such a heartfelt message when women prepare
Y'all
those
keep mowing
wholesome
the
meals.
grass and doing them sit-ups. Keeps things so sexy and so yeah, y'all keep doing that too. Shit, keep working. Yeah, all that.
But okay, and
What you
again, that could be a
require.
subject that
You
y'all
gotta
talk
learn how
about. I
to
always ask for
inspire what you
different subjects.
require. If you need
Thank you.
a
Thank
home
you.
cooked
Say
meal,
that
you
again
gotta
for
do
the
what
people
she
in the
needs.
back.
Inspire what you require. It can't just be a list of shit you want. You
Already
gotta
said
inspire that. You want somebody that cooks for you, then you gotta find what it is that inspires her to do that. And then you got it in spades.
It's
I
fair
mean,
enough.
damn,
Fair
that's
enough.
easy. That's a
Fair
solution.
enough. It's fair enough.
Thank
Let's
you
see.
for that solution, ma'am.
That's fair enough.
Appreciate that.
Hey, I'll stick together. I like
No,
that.
we
Yeah, I got
don't. And
sisterhood.
you know that we don't. We don't like being on here finger pointing and saying it's just all y'all's fault. We really do be trying to come up with solutions, and we always get pushback for that, and that's not fair. If there's something, she always says all the time, you can come with your list of what you want from us, but you have to remember that we have one too.
Okay.
So if you want something from us, what she keeps saying all the time, fair exchange is what?
no robbery.
No robbery. Like
And
the fuck.
that's real
You
talk.
want
You
from
can
me, I
never
want
walk
from you.
into a
Let's do this.
relationship making demands and not expect to get some demands back. So again, for all them salty ass men or and women who keep running around here talking about what can you do, what have you done for me lately? Well, what the fuck have you done for me lately?
Whew. Boy, y'all keep
So,
the fire going. All
well,
right.
motherfuckers just need to shut the fuck up. They really and truly, they just need to shut up and stop talking and listen. And if you don't want to do that, then and he's a miserable ass man. He must be, because how come you ain't somewhere screwing your chick? Seeing so how sexy you
I
are.
mean, you said he was in a loving relationship. I would be loved
Go do that shit.
right now. I'm not sitting here
Yeah.
arguing with miserable people. I'm just saying, But then it's called priorities. So obviously she's not a priority if he got time to sit here and argue.
Whether she is or she ain't, just why are you always complaining about what the matriarchal community is doing? Well, take your ass somewhere and build yourself a patriarchal one and be happy. Shit.
All
Go
right.
live on your fucking island.
Appreciate you, ladies. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for the
And
post
good night
throughout
for
the
that one.
weekend.
He just answered it. He just answered it on. She lives in another state. You're good.
Y'all be good and y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Enjoy y'all weekend and stay tuned to the next time. All right. Appreciate y'all.
All right.
I'm out.